Hello and welcome back to the bakery. I'm your host, Zach Warlock, also known as Team Rosemary, hosting here on the Twitch channel. And joining me will eventually be Second Hero, known in the Discord as Ren. He is not only our main official tournament organizer, but surprisingly enough, a very amazing co-caster, as I found out last weekend. He was here when Neon Guard took on the Tilted Tater Tots and came out victorious in a very close 3-game series. So it's going to be exciting to have him back as we move on to today's match, which is the Neon Guards fighting their way up further into the gauntlet against ToC. Now this is, along with all the matches we've had so far, going to be an interesting one for multiple reasons. The one that I'm excited for the most is who is going to be the main carry coming out of both of these teams. Because knowing what I do about certain team matchups, I know that Red is one of the main carries for ToC. And I know that Zhu, whose name used to be Dr. Guillotine, as their ADC, is one of the main carries for Neon Guard, along with Nate. Nate is actually normally a support main, but they pivoted their player, who's fairly high ranked, fairly high elo, up into the jungle role to hopefully be more impactful in multiple lanes and be a carry himself. So definitely one of their two main carries for sure. It looks like we are interested in having Shyvana bot more than an actual teammate, and a lot of back and forth. A little bit of fun banter going on between the two teams here. But yeah, it is going to be an exciting match overall. Lots of great players that we get to go against. We have like Aiko on ADC that doesn't usually get talked about all that much. Issa, very solid jungler, especially for his point value. Valued at silver, I believe. I know he's bronze right now, but I believe he's valued as a silver player in the sheet. Let me double check that while we got plenty of time. Finalize teams roster.
Boom.
Hey, there he is. Welcome, my co-caster for the evening, Mr. Second Hero, known in the Discord as Ren. Ren, what's up, man?
So I am hoping that we get to see an absolutely ridiculous Game 3 back and forth game between these two teams. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think it would be an exciting watch as well. And it's also just good fun. You know, nothing is better than losing knowing that you were very, very close. I feel like it's some people might argue differently, but it's definitely very disheartening to know that you got knocked out of the tournament with like a swift 2-0, and you're like, well, I guess we never had a chance. You know, whereas like true. If you go down in a very close nail biter, game 3 or a game 5, at least for me, I can walk away going, man, next tournament, we got this.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and that's the thing, especially after you're maybe you've lost a couple and then you go into losers bracket games and you're battling through bit by bit trying to swim your way back up through the losers bracket into a grand finals. It's kind of cool to see teams start to bounce back from that and like kind of recover a little bit of the hope that they maybe lost from some of the losses going into the end of the round robin.
Yeah, for sure. And right now they're experiencing the gauntlet, and there are playoffs matches. So Neon Guard starting from the very bottom. This is only their second match, so still fairly fresh within the gauntlet. But if they win this match, they still have a long road ahead of them with, probably 4 more matches total?
Yep. So we've got everybody's going to be playing best 3 out of 5s, with the exception of the winners final, which is coming up shortly, and the losers final, and then the grand final. So a lot of teams are looking at best 3 out of 5s instead of best 2 out of 3s coming up here for these next couple.
Yeah, and I know we had a little bit of adjustments that might be coming down the pipeline for the playoffs seeding, but without going into too much speculation, if what we talked about in the organizers chat is correct, How does that look for losers final? What is defined for losers final?
Yep. So the losers final is going to be the final game coming from the losers bracket that would lead to the grand final. So once we have our winners upper bracket game that happens, that's between Gangspank, which is Tyrene's team, against Camp Autumn, which is my team. The loser of that game will be the grand final of the losers bracket. And then we've got whoever swims their way through the losers bracket back up until that point would face the loser of the winners bracket in a best 3 out of 5 to decide who's going to be in the grand final. So,
Okay,
pretty exciting stuff.
definitely. Okay, that makes more sense. So we're losing in the winners bracket just leaves you down into the losers bracket. That makes
Correct.
perfect
Yep.
sense. Perfect,
Yep.
very perfect sense. All right. Yeah. Well. So yeah, long road ahead for both of these teams. No matter who wins today, they are going to be facing at least 4 more matches, maybe even more, depending on how the upper bracket kind of fails out. But either
Hmm.
way, they're not thinking about 3 weekends from now. They're thinking about tonight. And
Yep.
that's what we're here to talk about as well. So let's look at the matchup here. I mentioned a little bit of some of our carries that we always kind of point out. But something I want to ask from you, because you frequent your own Discord server far more than I do. Who are some of the maybe some of the lesser known people in these two teams that you think are maybe underrated, or their rank maybe not reflective of their actual skill level?
Yeah, so the first one and foremost would be Vinay, whose his username is normally Bitchard Round, but he's Jamaple Fatty Gay, as he just switched uh, his name to make himself sound like a Rastafarian Canadian. So that's on the same team for Joey's team. He is a gold player, but I believe that his skill is very reflective outside of that, which is pretty exciting to see. Um, Nate, we've seen him throughout the tournament quite a bit up until this point, and he is a support main. But even though jungle is his secondary role, it's also a role that pretty much got him to Diamond 2. So, uh, much more powerful jungler, in my opinion, than his support ability. Um, and then I've really liked to see what's happened, going forward with Dr. Guillotine, whose username is now Shu. Uh, she is the ADC on Lord of Penguins' team. She's been doing really great, and I Hate Name Pickin' also did a role swap from mid to support, so they've been doing fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see if Aiko and Asian Bits have a similar level of team synergy built up to them, because they have proven to be a very powerful duo, and Pickens improved from bronze to silver throughout the course of the tournament. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one that I mentioned earlier was Issa Duck. It is the jungler for Nexus. We marked him as silver on our team sheet. He's currently bronze too, and with only 1 win, you can tell he ain't even finished his promos yet. So definitely an easy silver player, maybe even a gold player if he applied himself. I haven't seen enough
Yep.
gameplay to confidently say, but I can say from the few feature matches that we have showcased from them and just different games I've seen throughout the Discord, definitely a more skilled player than I would consider an average bronzy. So
Yeah.
someone to look out for as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to just make a comparison there between Issa and Sneaky, who's on Camp Autumn. They actually have similar jungle pools. They play a lot of tanks in both cases, but I do believe Sneaky's champ pool is a little bigger than Issa's. But for what it's worth, Issa plays all of his tank champions very, very efficiently. And as long as he's able to get those picks that he's comfortable on, I think he's been able to shine throughout the tournament. So it'll be interesting to see if Lord of Penguins is willing to concede picks into Joey's team to continue giving Issa those powerful picks that he's comfortable on, or if they're going to try and target ban someone like Aiko, pretty famous for her misfortune gameplay. Or Asian Bits, who absolutely tears it up with a number of the tank engaged supports. So it might take a little bit of some finesse and some ingenuity to work their way around bans this time, because I think those bans are going to really determine how the game is paced.
Yeah, and we do usually see a lot of our bans towards the higher elo players. So, for example, Red, since we're looking at bans on the Nexus team, Red has historically soaked up a lot of bans for his team. I remember the feature match that we showcased, I believe it was against JDS, had
Mhm.
5 mid bans all against Red. They were banning out stuff that he played in solo queue that one time on a Silver Moon when the stars aligned. Like it was actually funny in the grand scheme of things. And even Red was after talking afterwards when we were chatting, and he's like, "Dude, I get when they ban 2-3 champs. It makes sense. Well, why ban all 5? This is just ridiculous." And he's like low key tilted, even though I believe they won the game. So it was just very entertaining to just be like, "Wow." And I get it. I've been on the receiving end of hitting 4 or 5 bans across a scrim or across a tournament match before, so I get it. When you have a champ pool of only 3-4 champions that are solid, and you're already hitting your 5th ban when you're like losing pocket picks, now you're in a position where you're like, well, I did play Hui that one time, and
Yeah, I think that that kind of shining out with your champion picks, going like 5, 6 picks down into your pool is quite interesting, and sometimes even pulling jungle picks into lanes, which both myself and Momo have been known to do. So it'll be interesting to see, again, what kind of stuff they can cook in these drafts.
yeah. And
So.
speaking of cooking, Young Guard, I would argue, is probably one of the 2 teams that we have in this tournament that are just absolutely known for, I wouldn't say troll picks, but I would say very unique drafts. Moist Chalupas would be the other one. We saw yesterday's feature match featuring Karthus in the bot lane, and we saw there was another spicy thing earlier in the tournament. We saw Nocturne top
Yep.
for counter pick as well. And so I know that Nyan Guard has always done similar things with one of their feature matches. They did Nyla Lee Sin proxy wave, one of the Vietnamese strats, and it didn't really work out in their favor. But the fact that they're not only willing to lock in champs like that, but they're willing to go for these kind of rogue strategies. It showcases that you can't just prep the ordinary draft that you would expect. You can't just look at the op.gg and go, well, he's a such and such main, so therefore we ban that champ. Sometimes you got to be willing to stretch it a little bit wider and go, well, if they've already picked this champion, yeah, he's a Jarvan main, maybe he's a Zyra main, but what if he pulls out the Lee Sin? You got
Yeah,
to kind
true.
of make a mentality of that. I think one thing that we will see, well, I don't want to make an assumption, but one thing that I would like to see from Lord of Penguins is his Victor. I know he has a very
Yep.
solid Victor, and I believe it's a really safe control mage to kind of pilot your way through the mid lane. Reddit is going to be one of the main carries for his team, and so he's going to be looking for those solo kills. So if you can play a champion that just kind of doesn't interact and just sits back and farms, sure, Red can go and roam, but if your team is enough coordination, you can just go, hey, Zhu, hey, Mini, just back off for a little bit. I'm going to get a free wave in the mid lane, maybe even a plate.
Yeah, and I think that kind of shouting out one of the things that we've kind of seen this team sometimes be their downfall is both Lord of Penguins and Nate tend to try and be playmaker players. They're not very good about just neutraling a game and letting time pass and letting people scale. They want to see the game state move. They want to see the game state keep pushing and continue to do different things. So sometimes those 2 players have a tendency to just, while pushing the envelope, they push the envelope off a cliff and start throwing just for the sake of being bored and wanting things to happen. Um, so uh, when they manage to keep that under control and they can pilot their way into a mid or end game that's strong, it's powerful. If not, sometimes that can be a bit disastrous. Um, and kind of to speak for a moment outside of this game, so the Alpha Digitown, we haven't seen them quite yet since the round robin stage of the game. Uh, so they're going to be popping in next weekend, starting back into the gauntlet. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of tactics they bring into playoffs, as well as which of these teams is going to advance. And we're going to start seeing some of the winners bracket teams play as of this next weekend coming too. So, yep.
Yeah, I think the Alphas to G-Town is definitely one of those underdog teams where I feel like their score isn't really representative of their skill level. We have a kind of a meme going around in the Discord of the legendary the MIP. I've been in conversations where we're talking about different teams and they're like, "Oh yeah, I played against the MIP and I got the solo kill or whatever." And there's like, "What? You went against the MIP and survived? You lived to tell the tale?" You're just like, yeah, dang. And to their credit, every time I've seen them featured on the stream or I've seen them play in a tournament match before, they have been a terror. Not just the MIP too. They have a fairly well balanced roster, which is not something we normally see in these tournaments. A lot of times we see one really high elo player and kind of a bronze or an iron player that kind of balances it out. But I believe if I look over their team, a lot of their players are like platinum, emerald, gold, kind of in that middle range area. And so it's really hard to find like one weakness on them to exploit because everyone is just proficient in their role. Even if they're not winning lane, they're going to easily just farm their way through it and let somebody else carry.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, at least currently for all of these sword games that we're playing through, one of the things that you're going to see over and over again is those choices very early on in how people wanted to draft and make up their teams in the first place will then determine what kind of gameplay we're going to be seeing from those teams later. So, some people decided to draft very evenly across the board, like you mentioned. Others decided to go more for picking like one extremely high elo player and then going for the rest of them in a more midway. Camp Autumn, my team, we opted to do something a bit controversial compared to the other teams, where we went with Iron tier players for two of our slots, as well as one medium slot from myself, and then two extremely high players on the other end. So um, people all approached team building very differently in this event, and I do believe the point system has kind of worked out to encourage, a good mixture at this point.
Yeah, I'm strongly in agreement with that because I think in the past it was very subjective of yeah, if I look at these five players, that just kind of feels like a fair team, and then a lot of times in practice you kind of run the math of like, okay, well they have three emerald players, a plat player, and a grandmaster player. Maybe this team isn't as fair as we once thought.
Yeah.
Compared to this team over here where their highest ranked player is gold. Maybe this isn't a fair matchup. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
watching the team building like different strategies has definitely been interesting. I know with my team, one of the things that we tried to emphasize, or at least I tried to emphasize when team building, was I wanted to make sure that we had multiple carries,
mhm,
whether that would be me or whether that be some of my other lanes. And so my big focus was I need a very solid top laner and I need a very solid ADC. And ideally, I have a jungler and a support who may be slightly lower elo, maybe worth less points, but are willing to be team players. And so, like, one of the things we try to emphasize is like, hey, we don't always have to be the carry. The whole reason we have three carries on the team is that if one person fails, the other one or two can pick up the slack. And honestly, it's probably what led us to lose the last game in the game 2 with our feature match. Is I definitely went a little too prideful and said I have to beat the Grandmaster player, when in reality, both the top and bot lane were winning handsomely.
yeah, and sometimes that is a bit of a thorn in your side. But we are now in draft, and it looks like we see a Huiban coming out first.
Yeah, so it looks like they are targeting out red right away. I'll be curious to see if we see an Azir ban or a Corki ban, because those are the two champions that I see red playing more often than not. He has a very solid Corki as an AD pick, and his Azir has been very, very strong in team fighting and catching out certain players. So he's really good at punishing people who are out of position by using that as a pick. And it's also just a very safe long-range pick in general. Um,
Yep.
so I believe that is my software not updating properly. So I don't actually have a picture of Aurora loaded in. So I'm going to be very confident in that was an Aurora ban.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I do not have the most recent champion updated into my PNGs. So
Yeah, that's fine.
definitely
No
some
worries.
homework for me to go look into.
Yeah, we got Hui Aurora, Camille on banned on one side, and Zeri Viego Mumu banned on the other. For anybody who's looking at it through the UI, um, so Nocturne pick coming out first, which is one of Nate's signature picks and one of the most terrifying ones that I almost always ban when playing their team.
Yeah, it
So
is definitely scary, not just as a pick potential, but as a kind of a comms check, especially in a 5v5 like this. It is a really strong call out on the opponent's communication skills. Hey, if I ult bot lane, how fast can you react? Not just yourself, but can your team respond to it? Because I know in solo queue it's a huge havoc to just go, where's Nocturne? I know he ulted. He's not in my lane, but is he just holding it? Has he gone somewhere yet? Whereas with 5-man comms, it's very easy to go, he's on me bot lane, and just try to pass it off.
yeah, it's true. And so we got a Sivir Braum. That's uh that's definitely some of the more safe options. I'm not quite so sure that they should have went safe. But no scaling picks coming out on either side, and both Smolder and Nasus are open. So it'd be interesting to see if one of the teams picks up on this very powerful kind of scaling that's been left on the board.
Yeah, Jinx is definitely a late game scaling champion right now, but I don't really see her with an ability to pick up any kills. Leona's gonna definitely have a hard time getting behind Braum onto the Sivir, and even if she does, she's gonna have to juke her spell shield out or bait it out before the engage goes off. And the Syndra is gonna get banned. Another one of Lord of Penguins' great champions, and another one of those late scaling champions like we were talking about that their team comp is kind of lacking a little bit on. And the Azir ban as well. So definitely showing some respect.
On the flip side, Miniman is pretty famous for playing a lot of Fiora. It does look like, ooh, this is going to be a Yone not going over to Lord of Penguins and instead being stolen by Red's team. So that's pretty cool.
And cycling through a couple of top laners right now. Really just limit testing my software right now. I'm just going to see how many PNGs we can load in the span of half a second. As Blind Pick Mordekaiser is going to come out. And Galio, I hope is not the... Is the... What? Lord of Penguins... It may be... I mean... Lord of Penguins definitely is a proficient Yone player. So perhaps just knows something I don't. But if I were a betting man, I would say that Galio gets ran down by Yone.
I think the Galio pick is kind of to follow up on the Nocturne, especially since they've drafted such a safe comp on Red side. So I think that the differences between the mid jungles here is going to be what will decide this game, as we've got pretty safe picks on both bot sides. Both top sides looking a little even in terms of grand duelists. And then we've got some very map influential mid jungles. So we'll see if Issa and Red can do a little better than Lord of Penguins and Nate, or if we'll see the vice versa.
Yeah, I feel like this top lane is going to be a very volatile matchup. I'm not too familiar with the Mordekaiser Gwen in a 1v1 sense, but I do believe that both of these champions are very hard carries, and so I could easily see that if one of them gets a kill early on, or even just a really solid trade, some jungle help, burns a flash, and forces a freeze or something, that you can see one of these lanes start to snowball pretty hard.
Yeah, this is it'll be interesting to see uh, how they can kind of invent these comps to be something a little better than what they are on paper going into the game itself.
One thing that is nice about this Mordekaiser, even though it was a blind pick, is that it's really good at taking out a very specific player on the enemy team. So if you have Nocturne and Galio diving in on a carry, you have Mordekaiser who's taking out a lot of the peel. And so if you have Yone who's already popping off really hard, you can take that Maokai straight out of the fight. Now they don't get a smite and they don't get any peel on the Yone, so you get to just kind of dogpile them. Same thing with the Sivir or the Gwen. So I'm hoping that they'll have a little bit of utility. The one thing that I'm afraid of is that they have a lot of dive, and I'm afraid that if Leona, Nocturne, and Galio all go flying in and Mordekaiser hits R, Jinx is going to be left by herself. And if Yone or Gwen get on top of her head, she'll just keel over and die. So
Yep.
I'm hoping that they don't forget about their Jinx. Hopefully Zhu has enough position or has enough distance within the positioning of the team fight to not just get run down immediately. Maybe let his team or let our team soften up the opponents, then come in. You get one kill, you get excited, you use the movement speed to kind of run around the team at that point and pick up a double or a triple kill. So definitely is going to be a little bit of a skill check in the mid to late game, but I'm excited to see how both these teams play out their comp as we move forward. I think the laning phase is going to be very showing of where we're going to find ourselves, because if one team gets too far behind, I do think both these comps have the ability to just kind of steamroll over the first.
Yeah, and I think for the flip side here for Red's team, really cool to see Bichard Round's pick here for Gwyn. That is one of his best champions, Camille, Fiora, Gwyn, and Darius being some of the main picks that I've seen him on. So it'll be really cool to see him back on the Rift on that champ. It's been a little bit, so we will see. But overall, with this as team comp, they have a lot of engage between the Maokai, the Yone, and the Braum, and their ADC at least has a spell shield to stay safe, and that speed up to help them with the engage. So if they can find the angle to keep engaging on repeat as opposed to letting that Nocturne engage on them, perhaps we'll see a more offensive game from Red than some of their other teams.
Yeah. Well, we're loading it in right now, so hopefully we are about to see some really worthwhile gameplay. I think, yeah. I don't really see any wild summoner spells coming out from everybody. It seems pretty straightforward, all things considered. Apparently, according to chat, Mord versus Gwyn is very Gwyn favored. So I don't know enough about the champions to tell you why, but I'll take the word from some of the top lane residents in the chat to tell me that Gwyn is an actual counter pick into this Mordekaiser.
Yeah, she puts out an immense amount of damage in that small area. So if Mordekaiser pulls her in, she throws down the Hallowed Mist, and when they duke it out, there's a pretty solid chance that she's going to come up ahead. So everybody's deploying from the base now. Nothing too strange on items so far. So we will see, hopefully, some of the best gameplay we've seen in the tournament, as one of these teams is going to be eliminated after this series.
Yep. But the team that wins the match has still got a lot of league to play out. And that starts with right now. So Mordekaiser, I hardly know her. Are we going to see another pun? When did I ask?
Oh, man.
You gotta love some of the friendly banner that we see in these all chats. Oh, we have another pun? Good, an anagram for chaos. I'm waiting for the pun from Jib, but it just doesn't seem to be happening.
Fax, no printer. Unfortunately, Fiora's not even mid this game since she got banned.
What's a fax? Just showing her age there.
So one thing that's kind of a little interesting about some of the champions in this game, Lethal Tempo is currently not in the game anymore. And if it was still in the game, 3/5 of Nexusi would be running it. And on the flip side, Nyanguard's team would have 2 Lethal Tempo users potentially in the form of both Nocturne and Jinx. So interesting that summoner spell was announced at LCS that it'll be coming back. So we will be back to seeing lots of Lethal Tempo users all over the Rift. Kind of be interesting to see what kind of other changes come up in the, well, we don't have preseason anymore, but going into the next split.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Lethal Tempo as well as Jinx main and Ashe and Joyer. Both those champions absolutely love Lethal Tempo. And I know they're debating on whether or not they need to balance it and how so. I really like the idea of just nerfing it with melees and just leaving the range to be able to use it, as it was really the melees that were ruining it for everyone else on the Rift. And I know Riot seems to have everything against ADCs, and I'm perfectly fine with nerfing ADCs so that they can't solo lane. But gosh darn it, don't nerf me when I'm in my duo lane. All right, I already get ran down by a top laner. The fact that me as ADC can be like 7-0 and I get run down by the 0-3 Fiora is not okay. As speaking of not okay, Nate is absolutely running around trying to chase down Issa. I don't know if he's going to be able to find him. Issa's looking like he's about to get out as Lord of Penguins cuts him off with the taunt. A little bit of double damage coming out as Issa's going to flash away. Nate does have a spell shield to try to defend against Yone's engage. It doesn't even get proc, though, as Issa is running back to the jungle, hopefully to farm up the red buff.
And it looks like red has saved the day this time. Some denied early action there for now. Bot lane's a little neutral. Top lane's kind of bruising a little bit between the two players, but as I predicted, mid lane is Armageddon this game.
Yeah, and red is doing a really good job at harassing. But Lord of Penguins, I want to give some huge props. Despite being at a disadvantage, is doing a really good job at keeping up in farm. He is going to have to recall here soon, as he does have mana issues, contrary to Mr. Yone. But he does have some empowered autos. He still has a little bit of health left, so maybe trying to wait out this cannon wave. Personally, I think this would have been the best wave to recall on, but maybe he doesn't have enough gold to get the item that he wants. Feels like he can stick around and just kind of play safe, so not going to question it too much. But it is going to give Yone the driver's seat here with lane prio if something were to break out in the river. And it looks like we're getting a little bit of an engage. Bromstun comes out, but they are going to be able to disengage very easily. Asian Bits puts up the shield with the extra movement speed and just walks away. Ooh, red taking a tower shot there. Not going to make his 1v1 trades easier.
All right. A friendly reminder to everybody who is a League of Legends fan in the stream here, Split 3 will be immediately getting kicked off on September 25th, 2024. So be sure to clock in those last rank games prior to September 24th, just to make sure that you're not struggling for those last couple of ranks before the season's up.
Oh, Issa's going under tower. We just watched 4 flashes in the past 3 seconds as Red, Lord of Penguins, Miniman, and Pickin have all launched their flashes in the past 4 minutes, none of which have resulted in a kill. So everyone is just playing on a knife's edge right now. Everyone wants to min-max their lane presence, their gank potential, their damage charts, the whole 9 yards.
Yep, very important to note, though, we do still have the flash on Jinx and bot lane, and we have flashes on both Sivir and Braum. So Nyangard might have to play a little careful if they're going to be making any plays towards bot, since they are out-flashed at the moment down there.
Yeah, it looks like they're just playing a nice farm lane. Pickin did a really good job at freezing that wave on Eiko and Asian Bits' recall. So hopefully Zhu is going to be able to just slow push this wave and the next wave after that. Maybe even take another recall on top of that. Maybe rotate over to the dragon. We'll see what they end up doing with that prio. But for now, Asian Bits also really, really good rotation. Realizing, hey, we're going to get frozen here anyways. I might as well go make some use of myself on the top side of the map. The grubs are up. And
all right.
I guess with Mordekaiser having to recall, they probably just said, you know, where? Oh, Mordekaiser's on the grubs. I couldn't see him because of Nocturne's face. I was like, where the heck is this Mordekaiser? He's not in the base.
He was hiding. He's actually Twitch all along. So a little trade here between the ADCs and bot lane. Grubs going over to the blue team at the moment. And it looks like everything's in a neutral state. Now the red team is starting to trade the dragon for the grubs. And it looks like that might be going down.
Yeah, they're meeting a little bit of resistance by this Leona, but it's not going to be enough to scare them away. As Pickin is realizing that, he's just going right back into the lane. Might as well go get some XP. I believe if they can both hit level 6 before Eiko and Asian Bits, that they can capitalize on that. There will be too many stuns and lockdowns for Eiko to spell shield everything. So a bad misposition post 6 could actually spell death. And Issa might even be realizing that as he's kind of floating around this lane right now, looking to try to pick somebody out. And yeah, just going to walk away.
And we are still seeing some very powerful duels here at the top lane. However, of note, CS lead across the board right now for Nyangard.
Yeah, about 1,000 gold up and not a single kill on the board. Just shows to show you, even with being down a dragon, you can still make back the gold. I think the biggest lead right now is definitely in the jungle right now. Nate is up a full clear on Issa, partially because of that dragon take. But a little bit of a CS lead in the bot lane right now. We're seeing about 2 waves up, and another freeze is going to come out, which is just going to deny even more farm. Top lane is down about 2 waves as well. I believe that it's slowly pushing over towards Gwen. I don't think I'm going to say his name.
Yeah, it's okay, no worries. Jamaple is a little hard for our non-French audience.
I can pronounce it. I just don't want to say Jamaple Fatty Gay.
We can just abbreviate to Jamaple for the sake of the stream, I believe. So they are still continuing to trade here. Top's pushed in pretty hard in favor of our Gwen top at the moment. And it looks like Miniman might be moving into a big dive here.
Yeah, Gwen is definitely a little low, but still has ult, still has the needlework, still has TP as well. I think that's a big thing. We could easily just see a quick recall and a TP right back to lane. Just depends on if Mini is trying to shove the wave or if he's just slow pushing it. And yeah, he's immediately shoving it. So yeah, TP is going to be matched here. So Gwen's going to be able to go right back up to full health and going to be able to maintain this lane pressure, as Mini's going to have to walk to lane.
A bit of a rarity. We are about to hit the 10-minute mark without seeing first blood in the elimination series.
True. I'll be curious to see if we can get completely away from plates before we see first blood. We haven't seen a plate drop either now that I look at it. There truly is not a single strong lead on either one of these teams. Just pure farm and jungle objectives. Even all this jungle pressure in the lanes doesn't really result in a whole lot more than a little bit of a health.
Yeah, and it does look like we might be getting closer and closer to that point now that we've got ultimates across the board for all the players. We might be getting to the point where we see a big fight around either the grubs coming up quite soon, looking into 2 minutes here, or the next dragon fight.
Yeah. Mini getting a little bit of a skirmish coming off of the Maokai. And Red is rotating his way over into the enemy jungle, probably just for some deep vision. Yeah, I'm just going to try to ward up that blue buff, try to spot out Nate before he gets on, especially now that the paranoia is live. It is something you have to be mindful of. As it looks like Maokai's getting collapsed in on. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Joey is going to be able to go in on Lord of Penguins. This is a 2v1 on the Issa. He does have flash. Is he going to use it? Not quite. Nate is going to get first blood on the Nocturne. Picken is rotated up on Red as well, as Asian Bits is following up the rear. Grubs are probably going to go over to Neon Guard, but there is a little bit of resistance if they choose to fight it.
Oh, and it looks like they might be backing off here. This might be a little suicidal for Red to contest this one solo, especially with the bot lane rotating back.
Yeah, able to buffer out the stun. Flash forward from Picken, though, as Red is running for his life. Exhaust has come out, gets the Q3, goes forward, gets the shield. Doesn't get the snapback quite away as Lord of Penguins is flashing away with barely any health left alive. Asian Bits not quite fast enough to save Red from under the tower. He has the TP to come back, but he's already losing waves, and Lord of Penguins is long gone. Yep,
and we finally broken through at 12 minutes to see some kills on the scoreboard. So now it looks like Neon Guard's kind of taking a hold of this game a little bit. But Braum is running down the Jinx on Neon Guard.
Yeah, Jinx still has flash. He's going to have to use it at some point. Traps come out. Another Q from Braum, but nothing to capitalize on it. Just a slow under the tower. As Zhu most likely going to be able to farm up this next wave, but going to have to concede this dragon, I would imagine. Spawning here in under 30 seconds. As Lord of Penguins is posturing down there. He wants to look for something. And yeah, he's just going to rotate right back. In fact, maybe even collapsing in on Red. Soul Shackle is going to bounce him back. He's got the taunt available. He's timing it. And he gets it off. Little bit of a combo comes out as Nate picks up another kill. 2-0 to this Nocturne. Getting more and more ahead.
Oh, that's unfortunate. It looked like Fate Sealed was up for that fight, so it's a bit surprising not to see Yone buffer the Fate Sealed out of the Galio taunt.
Yeah, I believe that it was a reaction timing between being snapped back and getting taunted. It was a very tight window, and I don't know how easily you can spam the ultimate to do it. I believe what you have, because you can't spam it too earlier, you just ult away and then snap right back over. So you have to try to time it within that small little window. Easier said than done for sure. But Lord of Penguins looks like he's going to be able to pick up a free plate there and shove another wave under. As Issa is collapsing in, ultimate comes out from Leona. There's going to be a little bit of peel going on as Issa's looking lower and lower. Lord of Penguins is going to be able to take up the kills. Asian Bits is running for the hills. Lord of Penguin does have the Braum passive on him, but he's not going to be able to get it procced. Red get the Fate Sealed. 3-man knockup. Snaps back, but not with enough damage to pick up any kills as Lord of Penguins is still going in. Braum passive is going to collect him up. We see a Paranoia come forward as Asian Bits is going to fall. Meanwhile, Red is trying to survive against this Nocturne, but it's not going to be good enough. Unfortunately, Picken does pick up the kill, but Nocturne is still really far ahead. He's not mad about that fight at all. And the top lane Needlework is still taking down as they are locked in Narnia. Mini is going to be able to take out the solo kill. That puts Neon Guard even further ahead across the board. 4 kills for them and only 1 return kill for Nexusi.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting to see how that fight would have went, potentially if Sivir would have joined that one. It does look like she's here for the cleanup kill after the Dragon now.
Yep, and Picken does not have Flash. Burned it earlier in the fight, so that is going to be a free kill going over to Aiko, who is currently 2-0, already having finished the Static Shiv. And Mini looks like he's grabbing this turret. That's 600 gold for his team.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Shield of Duran from Galio does put a little bit of a dent in the strategy here. So there is just a bit of lag time between some of these fights where perhaps Braum could be focusing on their targets. But again, Galio's Shield of Duran kind of redirects them, and it makes it way harder to fight through.
Not sure what we were fishing for with the Braum ultimate there. There was no way to get over that wall unless we're flashing, so I'm not sure how Aiko was going to be expected to follow up on it. Maybe Asian Bits just getting a little too excited there, seeing Zhu away from the tower.
Alrighty, so they are now in another combat instance here. Asian Bits trying to make sure that Aiko gets out.
Issa is also trying to do his best to peel as well, body blocking all the skill shots. The Aiko does not eat any of the damage. Zhu already down to half health, burning the health pot from, or the refillable potion from earlier in lane, trying to stay alive. Paranoia is rushing down. Gwen, Needlework comes out, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Flashes away and into the kill. Cuts down the cutter. Gwen is on a death screen. Lord Penguins is meanwhile in the mid lane, shoving out a free wave while his team rotates over to a Rift Herald.
Yep, and this Nocturne is absolutely gigantic this game. Perhaps maybe something that was an oversight in draft.
Yeah, well, I believe that the Nocturne really only gets to make plays when your team is disjointed. And so if you have great team synergy, it's not really something you need to worry about. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of disjointed team fights coming out from Nexusi's side, as it seems like they're more reacting to plays that are happening on the map rather than having the prio to make the plays themselves.
This is true. Well, whether it's characters like Nocturne or Vi, they tend to have that one button easy in on an ADC or a mid laner, which could completely turn the tide of a game, especially if you're reliant on a control mage or marksman to kind of push you guys ahead.
Yeah, just a little bit of vision control coming out around the map. People are just trying to farm it up. There's no objective to fight over right now, but we are seeing about a 4K gold lead in the favor of Neon Guard. So hopefully we're able to see them take this lead and actually push it towards a victory screen. One thing that I have critiqued them for in the past, and I know other people have agreed, is their ability to get these early leads and then slowly throw it as the game goes further along. Sometimes it's because their comps don't scale well. Sometimes it's because they overextend and greed for a Baron. And sometimes they just get mechanically outplayed. Red going forward for the ward as he's going to run into a Nocturne. He's got some teammates right behind him as he's still going to Fate Sealed out just in case. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Lord of Penguins is going up against Jamaple Fatigay. He's not going to be able to find much damage coming out, though, as we have a little bit of a run. Pickett is pocketing and shadowing in the corner just in case there's more fight to be had as Eco's walking back towards the mid lane.
Yep, and it looks like we're back in a kind of static state here. Currently, we've got 32k, just shy of it anyway, from Yongard, whereas Nexusy is at just a little under 27.5. So there is a definite gold lead here. However, where there'll really start to perhaps be some shakeup is once we see Gwyn on that second item and once we see Yone on his second item, because currently there isn't any crit damage stacked up on Yone, but moving forward we will start to see that Infinity Edge come out and we'll start to see some real damage coming from him as a champion. So it'll be interesting to see if Nocturne and Galio can continue to lock down Yone, or if Yone will be released once we start to hit this mid game here.
Yeah, Rift Herald is going to be dropped in the mid lane as they are going to be charging it straight into the tower. Very likely for them to take it. And I don't believe they'll be able to get another charge off. I believe Nexusy will be able to defend this. We'll see. Smite is available. They're not going to be able to burn it quite fast enough as the charge does go off. And Nate gets away with murder, getting tower and a half for the Rift Herald that they took earlier. Red's going forward. He's got a little bit of damage. He's got a Braum passive to stack with. Maokai also pops out all the runs as the cats run forward. He snaps back. Tower shot's going to follow in. Nate is going to pick up a kill on it. Galio's flashing forward as well, following up on this paranoia as they're getting run down. Asian Bits is flashing away. Echo is going to be able to give him a jump back, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. They've already lost 2 of their members, and one of them is going to have to recall for sure. Jamaple Fatigay is actually getting a collapsed in on. He's going forward. He wants to find the Jinx. She's going to flash away, though. Snare and Zap is going to be enough. Not quite, as the Needlework does end up picking up the kill. I don't know if they're going to be able to Baron anymore now that their main DPS is gone, but they can definitely rotate down for a Dragon and shove out a mid-wave at the same time.
And that Hero's Entrance doing so much work there. Just when the HP bars started to drop to their absolute lowest, Galio came to save the day, and we got to see an excellent bounce back there in that fight. Now we're getting to the point where the wallet diff is really starting to hurt more and more as this game carries on.
True. I'm curious to look over at the gold charts right now. Nocturne is up 3,300 gold on this Maokai right now. And now Maokai is a tank. He's not really meant to have a bunch of gold. He's actually building support items, which are reasonably cheaper. But even if you look across the map as well, pretty close gold on the bot side of the map for our ADC picks. About a 600 gold lead on the support. Paranoia is coming out as Red is going in on once again. He's trying to get out, but there's too many CC bot chains to go against him. He is on death screen once again, and if I know Red enough, he's probably very tilted right now, which is not going to fare well for games 2 and 3.
Yeah, the Leona Zenith Blade into Solar Flare after Nocturne's Paranoia is just so powerful in this team comp. And as long as they can continue to pick out one player at a time, that combination just locks someone down practically forever.
Seems like they are focusing Red. I would strongly agree. And reasonably so, they know that this Yone can become an issue if given too much gold in his pocket. So yeah, they're going out of their way to make sure that this man does not get to breathe. As Mordekaiser's taking him into the Death Realm. I don't know if Gwen's going to want this matchup. Not at all. Another kill goes over to Mini on the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, they kind of held a pretty decent fight between both the Gwen and the Mordekaiser for a while, but as we're starting to see more dragons come out, as we're starting to see more of the map shift around and move a bit, it's getting increasingly harder for Vinay's Gwen to keep up with Miniman.
Oh, Paranoia and Gallia are going forward as Pramako is trying to escape. She's not going to be able to make it out, though, as her first death is now on the board. Asian Bits follows right behind her, and they're going to rotate that straight over to Baron. Red going to be able to push out bot lane. Not even. Mini's going to match it with a TP. And so, yeah, they're going to have to give up this Baron and not really get anything for it. Issa can prime himself up for a steal, but I wouldn't bank on anything more than a Hail Mary.
All right, let's see if he can make the play. Zenith Blade comes out, and the zone is successful from picking.
Yep, no flash either, meaning if he wants to get in on this, he's going to have to walk all the way around. And
oh, he's going for it.
We'll see. He gets snared up. They're going to hit a quick U-turn, and he does not have enough items to tank up 4 people. Nate gets another kill, and Minnie gets a kill in the bot lane as well, as Red is now 1-6. Poor man can't catch a break.
True.
Yeah, this game 1 is looking rough for Nexusy.
Yeah, the between the unspeakable horror and to paranoia, every time that Nocturne's able to get in on a target, it's pretty much lights out, not just for the map, but also for that player. So that is something that they'll probably have to figure out going into the draft between this game and the next one.
Yeah, and if I was going to pick anything that needs to be changed within this first draft to the second, I think it's got to be this Nocturne. Nocturne has single-handedly turned this game on post-level 6. Beforehand, everybody was handshaking and farming, and I think there was a lot of solid plays to be had from both teams, but this Nocturne has just picked up a kill every time he gets that ultimate up. It is just not fair.
Yeah, I think I'm a little surprised that we weren't able to see more ults, the Maokai's Nature's Grasp.
Oh, it's a very close game. As Gwen is going to be able to pick up the shutdown goal on Galio. Very, very close fight, but it is worth it for Nexusy as they're finally going to put a little bit of gold into one of their carries' pockets. Still a steep hill to climb at 10K, but that is the direction you want to be going.
All right, so looking around on the map, though, there's still a almost 10K gold deficit. Not the end of the universe, but in another fight.
Yeah, Paranoia comes out as they're diving Red on the back line. Super Mega Death Rocket is going to be able to finish him off. Now we have a Jinx that's super excited. She's going to try to make some use out of it, but it's not going to be very effective. She gets run down as quickly as she ran in. Meanwhile, Nate and Picken are on their way out trying to get away. Issa is trying to chase down. He doesn't have any more ultimate tags to get through. No flash is really available beyond Issa. Yeah, they're just going to back off, maybe even position themselves towards the dragon, hopefully get some vision up on that side.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing here is that Nexusy simply didn't draft enough engage compared to Nyanguard. Their engage is kind of limited to the Nature's Grasp from Maokai or the Fate Sealed connecting from Yone. Braum is more of a disengage and follow-up here. So, and another battle.
Yep, Lord of Penguins is taking another 1v1 against Gwen, whether he likes it or not. Super Mega Death Rocket from downtown is going to dissuade this fight for sure. Paranoia is taking it on. Where's he going to fly to? He really wants to get on top of this Gwen, I believe. And he's going to opt not to take it. Not sure if he just didn't have vision or if he chose not to go for it.
On the flip side, very important to note there, Issa did pick up the dragon as well.
Yeah, definitely going to be good to delay that soul from getting further along as you're looking to try to scale out. If this game can last 45 minutes, then the early damage is irrelevant because everybody's going to be close to full build by that point. So definitely a good thing to try to keep things on the board. As I believe we're looking at, what would this be, Cloud Soul potentially? Oh, Nate's a little far forward. Braum passive's already on him as Aiko wants to go forward, but Minnie is also there to match him. Nate still has the passive on him as Gwen is going to move forward. She's got the snips as Nate is about to get stunned up. Red's going forward, flash for flash. Meanwhile, in the actual team fight, Super Mega Death Rocket goes a little wide as Gwen is going to pick up a kill. Minnie is stunned up, but he's super tanky. He's flashing forward. He gets the Q off as Aiko and Issa are burning. Meanwhile, Galio comes flying in to try to clean this up. Triple kill for the Mordekaiser before he goes down. Red finally gets ran down by Nate's Paranoia as he re-engages the fight. Gwen as still taking this 1v1 into Galio as he picks up another kill. This Gwen is going to be their road to victory. If Jamaple can make his way over to Nate and pick up the shutdown gold, it will be huge. Nate's going to take the 1v1. He doesn't have enough mana past the fear. He's going to opt to run away. We don't have... What? Wait, what happened?
It was the burn damage coming out from the scorch that got him in the end there.
No way. That is cracked. Well, this Gwen is definitely going to be their ticket to freedom. Sitting on now 2,400 gold from that fight alone. Dow actually puts him in the gold lead versus the Mordekaiser, up about 1,000 gold now. Not still quite matching up to the rest of the team as a whole, but definitely the most rich player in the team versus both teams that we're featuring right now.
Yep. Also a note there. It might not just be the Scorched. Nocturne's Death Dance also ticking down from that extended fight as well. So it could be more likely the Death Dance over the Scorch.
Oh, true.
Yep. The Conqueror as well as the his other core legendary item were fully stacked up. So that definitely would have contributed to it. But the Death Dance also, unfortunately, does catch you on the backside despite making you a bit tankier straight up.
Yeah, Gwen's going into the Death Realm. Minnie's going to try to take this 1v1. Good outplay dodging the Q, though. And that is shut down gold, putting more into Gwen. She has the TP available. Will she try to join her team or shove it out? It looks like she's going to try to shove it out as Aiko is trying to take on Nate. And Lord of Penguins all by herself. She's got a lot of peel, but she doesn't have a lot of damage beyond her. They're going forward as Picken wants to continue forward as Zhu is trying to take a proc out. Picken is taken down as Galio is re-engaging. Asian Bits is trying to make her way out. It's not going to be quite enough. Zhu gets excited. Aiko's super low. Crit comes out, but not enough to take out the kill as they're going to rotate over and ping the Baron. Gwen is shoving down bot lane, trying to pick up some gold for her team. But, man, they really need her to be in these fights. Oh, Red's re-engaging. He's not going to let this go back. He has the sealed fate as well. Zhu's got barrier to keep herself alive as Issa is going to have to back away as well. Just stalling a little bit for Gwen to hit a recall from the looks of it.
Yeah, so we're slowly ticking down time going into this next dragon. These teams, despite the goal difference, are looking increasingly close. Going down from our previous 10k gold deficit, now we're only looking at a 7k gold deficit, mainly thanks to these fights coming out from Gwen and the disengages that Issa's been providing.
Yep, and this is what I was talking about earlier of, Neon Guard having a very high goal lead and slowly throwing it. Now, I do think that this game is theirs to win. I don't believe we're just completely out yet. There's a big hill that Nexus still has to climb. But this Gwen is becoming more and more terrifying. We've proven that Mordekaiser cannot match her 1v1. And in a lot of cases, I don't believe that it can be even matched 2-on-1. I think you're going to need Nate along with somebody else, or you're going to need 3 people to take down this Gwen. And you don't want it to be Zhu, because Zhu cannot get in a close enough range to avoid the mist.
Yeah, between the Nocturne Stridebreaker and the Rylai's on Mordekaiser, those 2 items really glue people down in these fights once either of those champions is on top of them. That really is letting Galio line up these heroes' entrances in a very powerful way. And it does look like, whereas Aiko has... and we're getting into another skirmish.
Yep, Gwen's TPing in. The traps are coming out to try to dissuade them from going in on this dragon. TP also comes in from Mini as everyone is here. This is a 5v5. Yone is trying to push out the bot side a little bit, maybe get a little bit of extra gold and some pressure. And it looks like we're going to be in a little bit of a stalemate as we fight for some vision. Who is going to get caught out first?
Yep. And it looks like Neon Guard is trying to control the river here as best as they can with that gold lead. But we'll see if we can see some very powerful, and they are retreating.
Yep. Well, all but one of them. Red still has a strong desire to contest this dragon, as the rest of his team is just saying, nope, we can give it. We'd rather go and farm up a little bit more. We'll contest the soul here in about 5 minutes. And are they rotating up to Baron right now? There's no way they start Baron. They're not willing to fight for Dragon. They're going to death push it. Oh, I'm ready for this. Neon Guard doesn't have vision. Who's face-checking it? Nate's going to go forward. TP comes out from Red. He's going to follow it up and back off. Oh, Nocturne is going to get run down by the Gwen. Needlework is too strong, and shut down Gold's in as well as Asian Bits is about to fall. Double kill goes over to Gwen as she picks up Picken as well. The Lord of Penguins is going to be able to move forward, but he's not going to enjoy that fight. That is an ace going over to next Sussy. This Gwen is an absolute monster.
Aiko's still alive. This push is going to be very powerful.
Yeah, they don't need very many minions when you have 4 people on the enemy team, but that cannon is going to do a lot of work. They're going to be able to expose an inhib here and probably back off to the Baron on top of it. I don't think
No, I
y'all
believe they're
end.
going for a tower. They're
They're
going
going
for
to have to
Nexus
tank it
towers
up.
here.
Issa's looking to tank up one tower. They do take the one. Issa's going to fall. He doesn't have shield. Yep. Oh, wow. They are actually going to be able to
They're
take
looking
it.
for the end. And the flip after that 10,000 gold lead. That's the second flip that was that powerful. So GG's over to a very surprised Nexusi bringing up the W.
Yeah, 44k damage from this Gwen. 17,000 gold in the pocket. 13-4. That is not okay.
Yeah, so what kind of changes are we going to see in the draft going from game 1 to game 2, do you think?
Well, I definitely think maybe switching from blue side to red side will be something that Neon Guard might look at, trying to get a counter pick on their top lane rather than letting their top laner get counter picked. As I'm led to believe the Gwen is a very strong pick into the Mordekaiser. Regardless of whether or not Gwen carried the late game, it definitely is something that you don't want to risk. If I were correct, I would say that Nexusi is probably going to ban out this Nocturne. I kind of mentioned it earlier in the previous game, but I feel like that was a lot of the reason their early game was so difficult, was because Paranoia was just eating out 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 players on their team, all in a row.
All right. And so it looks like everybody's lining up. The players do have a small break here between games as well. So we will be back on stream in just a little bit here after everybody gets set up going into game 2. Reminder, this is not a single limb. This is a best 2 out of 3 series.
True. 3 minutes have already passed from our spectators' delay, but you're right. We do have about 2 minutes left before this draft will likely to start. So those of you who are watching at home, grab yourself some water, use the bathroom, pet your cat, do what you need to do. And we will be back in just another minute for the Lowflan Tournament of Champions Season 2 Lower Bracket Playoffs.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it looks like our players are currently drafting in their offsite website right now, so they will be recreating the draft here very shortly. Doesn't look like we see a side swap, so Neon Guard choosing to stay on the blue side. They truly value that first pick potential.
Yep. And it does look like they have some contestable picks here between the two teams, which is, again, pretty powerful on their part.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the two teams change up. We've offered a few ideas, a few thoughts, but ultimately, I think one thing that Red is going to have to do is he's going to have to put himself on a pick that he's more comfortable with rather than stealing a pick away from somebody else. Not that the Yone necessarily played poorly, but it was just very easily punished. And so I think maybe playing a ranged caster or even something like a Corki where you have the ability to just kind of dash away would be a little bit safer, and it is something that he's a lot more comfortable with as well.
All right. So potentially the end of the line here. I don't know if we're going to be seeing Lord of Penguins pick something that's more of a comfort pick or pick one of his more spicy picks here. Back against the wall, we'll kind of see what he drafts into. But I would love to see either the Talon, the Victor, or the Yone pick come out from him this game.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think the Victor would be the most safest pick, but something like a Talon would be very interesting. Maybe make some plays elsewhere on the map. The only fear I have with that is if you see the opposing mid laner try to punish with like maybe a Tristana or even a Corki or just some other AD mid that can just tear down tower plates. It is a little bit punishable.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think that we're gonna going into the draft for this next game. There's gonna be a lot more respect towards the the gold 4 top laner for Guard, I believe.
The gold for top laner?
Oh, sorry, for Nexusy. I misspoke. So Jamaple is a player that I don't believe, other than that Camille ban, that they gave too much attention to in that last game. But I definitely see that being much, much different going into this one.
Well, speaking of draft, here we go. First thing out the gate is that Huibam. They do not want to deal with the searing bolt coming down from the sky.
Yeah, definitely a terrifying pick from Red.
And speaking of being feared, Nocturne definitely the first ban coming out from Nexus. They do not want to have round 2 of whatever was cooking there. And it looks like another Aurora ban from Neon Guard. Just once again, limit testing my software.
Yeah, again, the Camille ban comes down to keep. That's obviously going to be Jamaple's best champion. They need to keep him off of that since he was able to do that much with just Gwyn. And it looks like the Mumu is stolen.
Yep, 3 bans coming out from Nexus trying to target out the jungler. Mumu is going to be picked on top of those 3 out, and Maokai is going to be matched up with. Maokai is still technically a flex pick. It's very likely it's going to be thrown on Issa for the jungle once again, but is still have the potential to be in the top lane or in the bot lane. So something to be mindful of as we move further along in draft. And I like the Zeri.
Could go somewhere.
Yeah, I like the Zeri pick here. Once again, more likely than not going to Zhi on the ADC role, but has the potential to still go top lane or mid lane, depending on what Mini and Lord of Penguins want to try to cook up here. And it looks like they are calling the bluff that it is going to just be a basic ADC. They don't believe it's going to go anywhere else, so they're going to start banning out some mid laners from Nexus' side as the Galio is the first to go.
It's very interesting that they chose to ban the Galio rather than some of his more powerful picks. Again, that Victor and that Talon are some of his absolute most played champions, followed by that Yone, which he's shown a lot of innovation on as well. Interesting to ban out the Galio instead.
Yeah, one thing I do like from that Nexus he was able to pull out here is they do get Aiko's Misfortune, and they were able to pair it up with a Nautilus. So lots of lockdown so that this bullet time can run rampant.
Yep. So definitely taking a much more proactive instead of reactive approach like they did in the previous game. Now Nautilus is going to be one of the engages for their team. And there's the Gnosis pick I mentioned last game.
Is it mid? Is it top? It doesn't matter because we're hovering Gallon. Not Gallon. What? Garen. I think I was still
uh,
thinking of Galio from earlier.
yeah, and I was gonna say if we're banning Gallon, we're reaching into the Fire Emblem roster at that point. Ban some characters from a different franchise. Ooh, we got Garen and Mordekaiser picked. One of them's going top, one's going mid. We don't know who's going where.
It looks like they may not know who's going where. And Trindamere also scarily could potentially be a top or a mid laner. I'm going to argue that it's more likely top than not, but has the
Yeah,
potential for sure.
yeah, guys, it's potentially the last game for a team's run in the tournament. Let's all just pick top laners. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yep. Welcome to the LPL finals, guys. We're excited to be able to showcase some amazing gameplay here.
Garen and Gnosis, we get to see it in our tournament as well, which is fantastic. So while we're waiting to load into game here, again, as a friendly reminder, since the split is going to be closing up soon in the next 2 weeks, if you want to try and get yourself placed so you can get some cool end of season rewards or help getting that little push, make sure to pop in the Riot Games chat over in the Discord and pair yourself up with some teammates so that you can continue your grind and make your dreams not be memes for this split. So be sure to do that within the next 2 weeks. And it looks like we are about to load into game.
Yeah, we'll have a 3-minute spectators delay. But I do agree, and something I do know that's happening directly after this match is we're going to have some of the higher elo players in our Discord server running some flex games, as some of the players are trying to make their way to Grandmaster. Some of them are already there and just maintaining their decay, and some of them trying to make that final push to make their way up to the top. So definitely going to be exciting. If you enjoy playing in Flex, solo queue, or even just some fun norms and ARAMs, there's always tons of players who are in these servers that are just hanging out, streaming their games, chatting about League, and other games too. I see a lot of Dead by Daylight. I see Valorant. I see TFT. So plenty of options to come in and just kind of hang out. It's a great community. Lots of people are very warm and welcoming. I've never really seen a stranger get turned away or ostracized for their desire to want to play the game. So if you're not already in the Loafland Discord server and you have a desire to want to join in on our community, maybe even participate in one of our major tournaments there in the future after the playoffs have concluded, then yeah, come let us know in the Twitch chat. We'll pop a link for you to be able to join in and come hang out with the rest of us.
Yep. And we are going into game two here. Again, for anybody who's tuning in now and perhaps missed the first game, this is a elimination game between these two teams in the lower bracket of our Tournament of Champions. We are towards the end of the tournament, just a couple weeks here left with a couple games per team left to go. So we have some trophies and some prizing for the respective teams for that. So again, thanks to all the participants. Thanks to everybody who's in the Twitch chat and watching the stream. And we will be into game here soon. So Zach, what do you expect to see out of this Mordekaiser versus Tryndamere, Garen versus Gnosis matchup?
Well, I think top lane is more volatile than I'd like to admit. I don't know top laner matchups too well, so I don't want to speak further than my experience would allow. But knowing what I do about both champions, I believe that Mordekaiser is going to have an early time in the early game. And one of Tryndamere's big qualities is unless he gets some early crits in one of these short trades, he's just going to be looking to try to farm and maybe use his E to get in and get out very quickly. Mid lane, on the other hand, I know for a fact that if Garen plays his cards right, Nasus should not be having a good time. One of the big ways that Nasus trades is by withering his opponent and getting out some Q damage, and Garen immediately ignores the wither by just popping his own Q. So as long as we see a little bit of patience come out from our Garen, Lord of Penguins should be able to win every single trade that he takes in the mid lane here.
Yep. And kind of surprising that, again, both game one and game two, Smolder and Gnosis up. We are seeing the Gnosis pick come out. We're not really seeing picks like Cinna. Instead, we're seeing a lot of engaged champions. So do you expect to kind of see this trend follow through the rest of the tournament for the teams, or do you expect to see kind of more explosive picks as opposed to tank picks from the supports going forward?
I think from these two supports, I'm definitely looking at these tank picks kind of being their standard. I don't think that they fully tunneled themselves onto just Leona Nautilus, but I do know that they trying to navigate their way towards those tanks more than not. As it looks like Nate might be finding himself an enemy team. I don't know if he really wants to step this far ahead. We're not going to see much of a punish, are we? Red's not going to want to start with her. Is flash forward.
Ooh.
And Asian Bits is going to whiff the Q, but he is going to burn Nate's flash. Debatable of whether or not it's worth it, but it is what happened.
Yep, flash for flash there. So both are down for the same duration, but no one else really blew anything. Kind of surprising that Issa didn't flash there into the Maokai W, because I believe that would have for sure secured that kill.
Yeah, and we've seen before that Issa is no stranger to wanting to flash for those roots, so definitely something to be aware of. But yeah, I think Asian Bits especially is going to be sticking to these engaged tanks, as Aiko loves playing Misfortune. As we mentioned plenty of times before, she is definitely a Misfortune main. And so Misfortune really loves the lockdown so that her bullet time can pump out a lot of damage. Andrew didn't pick me, Trundle, didn't let me lose in peace.
And so I think it'll be interesting to see if Tryndamere can overcome the early game that is this Mordekaiser. I think that that's going to probably be one of the hardest things to really see in this game. Of course, this is a pick that... oh, and it looks like we have a skirmish. Yep, that is a pick that maybe not the most unfamiliar, but definitely not something that I see him pull out all the time. So...
Yeah, we're just going to see some trades coming out from Tryndamere and Mordekaiser. Is Tryndamere, surprisingly enough, really dominating this early game. I'm not sure if it was because of the level 2 advantage or if it was just because of a few extra lucky crits, but really seems to be dominating this early game as both health pots have already been taken out from Mini. And a little bit of deep vision is going to make sure that Nate does not have the ability to wrap around and punish him for shoving up. But Nate is nowhere to be found. He is going to be on the bot side of the map, pathing towards this pushed up bot lane as Zhu and Picken are a little too far forward. Issa is going to try to make a punishment on it as Picken burns the flash. Issa is not done quite yet. He's going to go forward with his own flash as Picken is running down. He's burning, and first blood goes over to Prime Mako on the Misfortune.
Yep. And coming out with one of her signature picks, her main pick, as a matter of fact. So interesting to see her claim such an early gold lead here.
Yeah, that's going to be huge for this bot lane.
It looks like the classic Garen Strong pushing Nasus back a little bit here.
Yeah, but Red doing a very good job at just farming it out. I'm not sure how many Q stacks he's got, but as far as actual CS is concerned, he is dead even. And he now has the wave frozen up against his tower. Freezes in the mid lane are not as potent as freezes in the top lane or bot lane, simply because the lane is just significantly shorter. You can't really stack up too many waves, but it is still very useful for avoiding jungle pressure and for instigating your own. Ooh.
Yep.
Hook almost
Very
being able to land on Zhu. Yeah. Now, Cleanse and Flash were still up, so it's very unlikely that Zhu would have died from that. But having to burn the Cleanse off of a rogue Q is still not something you want to see in the trade.
Yeah, so after losing on that previous game with such a lead, do you think that this team might be a little shaken going in towards this game? Because it does seem like they're playing a little more footloose and fancy-free in some ways. In other ways, a lot more reserved than the previous game.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to be playing it a little safe. But if I were on Yon Guard's team, I would be more than likely trying to pick up some early wins. We know that most of our lanes are strong. I think bot lane is really the only lane that doesn't just kind of win by itself. It looks like Mini's taking this extended trade into Jamaple. Tryndamere is going to have to back off on this one. He has the health pot if he chooses to stay, but it looks like he's willing to just take the recall. Even though the wave is shoved up against the enemy tower, I feel like this is a good way to lose out on a lot of farm.
Yeah, and so with as we get closer to level 6, with the bot lane matchup, I do believe that Nyangard is going to be at the disadvantage at level 6, as Nexusy is going to probably hit it first. So, oh, and Maokai is on the prowl again. We got
Yep.
a flash coming out from Nautilus too.
Yeah, Picken is definitely locked down, but Nate is wrapping around the back to try to make use of it. Picken is super, super low. Is Eiko going to be able to clear out the kill? And she is. Nate's going to follow it up, though, as Issa's locked down. Asian Bits is going to try to peel as well, as Eiko is not done auto-attacking. She's got a lot of damage, but Asian Bits is going to fall to even more. Nate's going to get up a kill, as Zhu and Eiko are going to take a one-on-one. Nate is still hanging in the distance, though. I don't think that this is a fight that she wants to take.
Yeah, and just kind of commenting a bit on this top lane. So increasingly large gold on Miniman here into Tryndamere. This is quite a hard battle to fight, and we are starting to see the CS deficits across the board, actually. So again, a very powerful CSing coming out from Nyangard, and it looks like we're going to see a similar lead to last time, at least on the CS side.
And Red is having a field day that the ult did not execute him.
We take those.
I think, oh, hold on. Looks like Red's getting run down. Flash forward. He still has the ultimate come out, as he's got his teammates backing him up as well. He's super low on mana. I don't know if he wants to continue in on this fight. As Picken is looking like he's going to get caught out once again. Red is still low. He doesn't have to watch out for too much, as Leona doesn't have Ignite. She's trying to survive long enough, but it looks like Eiko's going to be able to take it out. Not quite. Red decides to farm it for a stack on himself.
Yep, and it looks like there are now eyes on the dragon. In the meanwhile, Lord of Penguins running for the hills has been spotted out, unfortunately, so he's going to jog it a little bit further. And Nautilus now is going to be looking to get depth charge probably on the next wave to wave and a half.
Oh, Nate's going forward. They're going to contest this dragon as Issa gets bursted out. Zhu's able to pick up another kill, putting her 2 on the board. Prime Eiko and Asian Bits are going to be able to farm it out, but because Lord of Penguins is still sitting around nearby, I don't think they're going to be able to contest it. They're stepping forward, and so is Jamaple, as Minnie is taking him into the Death Realm. This is a super close fight, as Tryndamere is ignoring death. He's running under the tower. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Asian Bits is getting run down, as Zhu's going to pick up another execute. 3-0-1 on the Zeri.
Ooh, and what a turn. It may have been a blunder there not to help Issa with the dragon. Unfortunately, that's the bad part about these tank junglers like Maokai or even Amumu, where sometimes their objective takes just aren't quite so fast.
Yeah, Nate looks like he's trying to run away. He is going to get out, but the blue buff is going to be able to go over to Issa. So nothing is going to be lost for Nexusy there. This is a surprisingly close game.
Yeah, in the on the top side, just a thing of note here, with Jim Maple's last trade or two that he's done into Minnie's Mordekaiser, he's managed to, and we're angling for another dive.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the dive that you want, though. It was very disjointed. Minnie didn't want it, but Lord of Penguins did. And now Red's here to match you for it. You're half health, and you got to deal with the Nasus. These Qs are hurting. You can run away and ignore the Wither, but Jim Maple's going to bounce over the wall and cut you off. There's no way you're making it back to your side of the map very easily. The blasting cone. He's going to be able to use it.
To make it across.
Oh. Here it is. Issa's on his way, but Lord of Penguins is definitely going to fall here as Red picks up another kill on the Nasus. This counter pick is not working as intended. Not when you overextend and dive like that.
Yep, and all of that off of the back of the attempted dive on Tryndamere top. So unfortunately for Nyangard, it does look like the Tryndamere is getting increasingly further and further and further back into the game. Originally at 50% of Mordekaiser CS, now he's just down 10.
Yeah, that one recall we mentioned earlier definitely cost him like 20 CS on that slow push, freeze into the slow push. But he has managed to come back. Looks like he's been able to pick up quite a lot of farm under the tower. And a lot of these 1v1s aren't very fruitful, as Minnie just takes him into the Death Realm, and Tryndamere just ignores death with his... actually, what is his ultimate name? Undying Rage. As
yes.
This is the exact trade that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and so it looks like...
Ooh, flash forward from Minnie, but the Q's not enough.
Kill.
He is barely going to walk away from this tower, though, as the burn is slowly taking him down. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Zeri is going under the tower along with her two teammates as Nate's tanking it up. That is another kill for Zeri, 4-0-1 as Aiko takes her first death on the board. Asian Bits is looking super low. He's trying to keep this wave out, but it looks like they're going forward even again. Leona's taking the kill and another execute for Zhu. Zeri is unstoppable right now. 5-0-1. Sitting on 1,600 gold.
The Titan's Wrath into Riptide just wasn't fast enough to clear that wave. And one thing that we have been seeing on repeat here, between Nate and Pickin, these guys are cute about diving the enemy team whenever they get a chance.
Oh, yeah. They have zero fear. And to be fair, when you have a Zeri who's already this far ahead and you know can hyper carry the game, I'd be making these exact same dives too. We did not draft all these tanks so that we could play like wusses.
It does look like at the current state, we see the static shift coming out on Zeri. So it'll be interesting to see with all this gold where she's going to take that trajectory into a second item. She is going to have to contend increasingly as the game goes on with both the Gnosis and the Tryndamere. So she's going to have to find a way to navigate her way into wins, not just in this early game, but also in the mid game too.
Yeah, and itemization from Aiko is a little interesting, looking like she's opting for the Infinity Edge more than the Bloodthirster.
Oh,
and a little bit of a fight coming out. Yeah, Minnie's going forward as Execute comes out from Lord of Penguins. Aiko's firing it up with the bullet time, but she's about to get run down by Garen. Red's TPing in for the safety of it as Lord of Penguins ignores the Wither. That's exactly what you take the Garen for. Get away from the with the Q. He's going to be able to defend this tower one-on-one, but he's got three people contesting him up on the grubs as they move forward to stop Minnie and Nate. Minnie's got some damage as he's going to try to fight Red. Get this bandage toss from the Amumu. Ultimate comes out as well. Asian Bits is low, and so is Red. They're both going to have to walk away very, very slowly. The burn ticks from Mini-Man. He's not going to be able to get it quite yet. Q gakes him out. Meanwhile, Jamaple is chasing down Nate and picks up a kill on him as well. Oh, Minnie and Nate. Minnie and Jamaple about to take another 1v1. Death Realm's not available, and Undying Rage is not the fight that Minnie thinks it is. Yep, Jamaple is just going to have to let him go. He's a little too far away.
Yep, that slow from the Mordekaiser passive definitely coming out to save him in this particular instance.
And it looks like Issa's biting off more than he can chew. Should have just left the grubs alone. Has been a flash away. Little Penguins may not be willing to let that go. He cues forward. He's got the red buff. There's the silence. Do we see the spin to win? Yes, we do. And there goes Issa. Another death on that Maokai. 0-4, and the grubs going over to Neon Guard.
Yeah, it's interesting that he opted not to turn and drop the Nature's Grasp there and instead to hold on to it. So they might be looking to contest this dragon that just came up instead with that Nature's Grasp instead of using it to stay alive.
Yeah, and the Bloodthirster did come out from Misfortune. I guess Bloodthirster builds out a pickaxe? I don't remember pickaxe being a building component.
Those change a bit, but Garen never stops spinning and never does change.
Yep, Primeco able to just walk away. She's got the spell shield and the strut to keep herself safe. Meanwhile, Nate's trying to engage on the Asian Bits, gets a little bit of burn off the Leandries, but nothing too relevant for this next fight. The main thing is that they've got the vision control as Pickin is moving forward to clear out the little bit of wards that they have sitting around this blue buff area.
So increasingly becoming a thing, Gnosis is looking kind of powerful here. Level 10, that Fury of the Sands is going to be something that they're definitely going to have to contest with in these fights. Because once Amumu goes in, Amumu and Leona are just sitting on top of him, and Fury of the Sands is constantly giving him more AD and more stats. So it's not something that they necessarily want to do, but it's something that unfortunately their comp plays into.
Yep. And Neon Guard's going to definitely be able to pick up this dragon. That's the second one on the board. Issa looking, he wants to contest it a little bit. He's definitely caught out here. Stun into stun, into stun, into stun, into silence is going to be his death. That chain CC from Neon Guard is absolutely criminal. But it is mean. You can't just step up whenever you want. You might be a little bit tanky, but you're not 4v1 tanky.
This is very true, and unfortunately the rest of his team was backing, so he thought he was playing League of Legends, but that man was just playing Left 4 Dead. And we got a TP coming out from Tryndamere.
Yeah, one thing I would like to see from this Maokai, if he's going to continue to play in the front line as he is some Merc Treads. you're going to need some tenacity to handle all this CC.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit of a hard sell, especially as we see that Garen and Zeri are doing so much damage this game. But you simply can't discount the 3 sources of CC from the enemy team and just forego Mork treads like this.
And you can still pick up armor items along the way. In fact, I think something like a Frozen Heart might be very relevant to try to slow down this Garen and Zeri from getting too far ahead. Because we're just seeing Lord of Penguins and Red matching each other. Garen v Nasus is kind of uninteractive. But Nasus with the Triforce first item does mean that he's trying to be more of a carry for his team than he is a frontline tank, which I think makes sense. You have Asian bits, and you have Issa as your frontline tank. Well,
Ooh.
maybe less tank, more just frontline, but...
As we see Shu melt him yet again, now come with that combination of Hurricane and the Static Shiv.
Yeah, lucky for Nexusi, Issa is no longer worth any relevant gold. So, Zhu may be picking up these kills to pad the stats on the KDA, but it's not going to be too relevant in terms of getting gold in for the team.
Yeah, and it looks like Red is again running Garen back to the tower. He's going to thumbs up as he manages to escape, but Nasus wasn't here to chase him down for his life. He was here to chase down that farm.
And I'm curious, what are we looking at as far as... I literally pinged over as if they were freaking top laners.
Yeah, 258 stacks, so looking pretty good, actually.
Yeah, for 60 minutes into the game, that was really good. So, definitely not behind in any way, shape, or form. And that is one thing that is going to be useful when it comes to Nexusi's draft, is they may be behind right now, but Nasus scales out really well. And so does Eiko. That bullet time is very, very effective with all the CC they have. They're just going to ignore Jamaple's Tryndamere and take down the tower in his face. He's going to try to run away, but they've got a lot of CC. And there it goes. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, they're seeing a 3v4. As bullet time comes out, picking flashes away. He is barely getting out as the lockdown is going to keep him down. Primeago doesn't have a lot of mana, but she has enough for auto Q auto. His picking is running her down. Red in the back line is running Zhu down. That's a big shutdown going over to Nasus as Lord of Penguins is flashing away. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it out. He's got the Wither. He's got the Flash. He's got the Q. 2 more Qs are going as Lord of Penguins is ignoring it, and the Q range is still too high. Lord of Penguins is going to fall in. Picken is running to the mid lane to try to clear out a little bit of this wave. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we dropped Drift Herald, and it looks like we're going to take down the Inhib over in the top side of the map. I don't think Jamaple's going to be able to handle this 1v2. But they are going to back off.
Yep, they got what they wanted, and they are out of there. So, unfortunately, in that last fight, Eiko's ult wasn't quite able to hit the entire team. Oh, Dredgeline coming out on Mini, though.
Yeah, one thing I do have to remind myself is we are only 18 minutes into this game, so taking Inhib not as viable as you might think, as Mini's going into the Death Realm to try to take down Red. And we are going to see a 1-for-1 as Red falls, and so does Mini. Meanwhile, Nate is trying to take a little bit of camps before he falls. He's taking out the Krugs, and he flashes away. There are no flashes to match him other than Issa, and I think Issa's died one too many times to try to take that Blind Faith flash himself. But speaking of Blind Faith, Lord of Penguins, no fear, decides to hex plate his way over to the other side. Running forward onto Issa. He's about to get collapsed down on by Jamaple. He's going to have to back off before he gets killed himself.
Yep, and we are hitting the point where the next dragon is going to be up in just 30 seconds here. So both teams are very cognizant of that. Some pings coming out from Yongard to work their way over there. Shu is now working on her third item, looking like potentially a Kraken Slayer third. So very, very powerful items there. But on the flip side, Nasus has finished both Triforce and Frozen Heart. So we're going to see both some incredible offense and some incredible defense from these two teams respectively coming up.
Yeah, Neon Guard has already postured themselves towards the dragon. They've got the vision control on it as well. If they are able to secure this, that is going to put them on a soul point, which is very scary to see before 20 minutes is even hit. Yep, very, very easily going over to them. Eiko and Red are just going to shove out a couple waves and try to pick up a little bit of farm for it, but Nexusi is definitely on a clock now. They have to try to contest this next soul, or they're going to be very, very far behind as far as itemization and gold percentage. Red getting run down. He gets stunned up. He doesn't have a lot of time left in this world as Nate's going to clean out the kill. Meanwhile, Mini's going to hold Issa back. Maokai goes down as Eiko tries to zone him away with the bullet time. She has some damage, but not high enough to dissuade Minnie and Nate from picking up what they came here for. 5 people are rotating over to Eiko, but she's long gone with that strut.
Yeah, unfortunately there, again, Nature's Grasp could have really comboed with that bullet time to make something different of that team fight. But Knossos certainly has a lot of armor here, not so much on the magic resist. So the Mordekaiser and Amumu, potentially his worst 2 matchups that he could see on this map.
Yeah, and speaking of Knossos' itemization, that Frozen Heart I mentioned earlier that I was hoping Issa would build has been picked up by Red, so I don't know if that passive stacks. I don't believe that it does.
So for the Frozen Heart, the Winter's Caress does not stack. It only reduces the 20% flat. So if you have more than 1 member with it, wider application range, but not double application range.
Okay, so yeah, maybe Issa's not going to be opting for that. Instead, maybe just picking up a Warmogs. I know in theory Warmogs is correct, but I feel like in practice you are getting bursted so fast in these fights, you're never going to see the light of day to heal up.
Yeah, and we do see the 1 Merc Treads coming out from Issa and another Merc Treads coming out from Asian Bids. Maybe not quite enough pairs of blue shoes for 3 CC sources and all these stuns, though.
Yeah, Zhu is going to be able to pick up that shield bow. Gives her a little bit more survivability in these fights, which is huge. Couple that with her cleanse, and it's going to be very difficult for this Nasus to run her down, which is what exactly Red is aiming to do. No Ghost on the Nasus either. Does mean it's going to be a little hard to stick. We do have the Triforce, and we do have the Fleet, so that might help. But Zhu also has dashes and a bunch of teammates to help heal for. So I do believe that at least in this next fight, we won't see her getting caught out too severely unless her positioning is just that poor. But in the future fights, when Cleanse is down, it could be a very scary thing to look at.
And it does look like both teams are kind of opting to do a 4-1 here for now. So Red is getting increasingly more powerful on this Knossos. I don't think that Tryndamere can quite ignore him anymore in terms of these combat instances, because now we've hit that point where Knossos is really doing so much damage that Garen can't just shrug it off and walk away anymore. So on the flip side, they are starting up the Baron now.
Yep, and it looks like it's going to go completely uncontested. Issa's walking forward, but we've seen this song and dance too many times to know nothing's really going to come of it.
It would have been incredible to see that steal.
I would have lost my mind if I watched a sapling steal the Baron.
And it looks like Red is hunting down Lord of Penguins again in bot lane, but Lord of Penguins does have the Baron empowered minions as backup here. So we're seeing a Leandry's Torment come out of Mordekaiser now. Yet another thing to burn down that gigantic Knossos. But could it be another instance of Jamaple finding a way out and navigating away from this gold deficit that they found?
Yeah, Nate's trying to collapse in on Red. Banish Toss goes a little too hard up. As Jamaple's now getting collapsed in on as well. He has the Undying Rage, and Zhu failing the stun. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find it, but the bot lane is going to see what they're looking for. The Predator has become the prey as Red is getting ran down. Eiko's coming to his side, and so is Asian Bits. Jamaple does get finally finished off, and the XQ comes out. Bullet time on Lord of Penguins. Barely going to make it out of that one as he's running around the corner. Nate has nowhere else to go, though, as he's going to eventually fall. It tries to flash away. I don't think he's going to be able to make it out, though. Bandage toss to the Wolves. They're not there, and that's a kill. Oh, going over to Issa. Kind of troll from this Maokai. Not only are you stealing shutdown gold away from your carry, but you're putting yourself back in a position where you're worth gold again.
Yeah, I think that in this particular instance, it's one of those where he was just concerned that he was going to see him get away. So everyone kind of rapidly trying their best to close things out. And speaking of closing things out,
Young Garb knocking on the Nexus towers. Asian Bits is in, and so is Red. Jamaple's already respawned, and Eiko's back alive. No bullet time available, but damn, this comes out from autos too. Zhu is going to break it down, but she's going to fall over to the Collector as Misfortune is picking up a kill. Red runs down the back line, and Picken and Penguin are trying to stay alive. Red is super low, but not anymore. He is using his ult, his fleet, his Q healing, and it is far too much for Lord of Penguins to take down. They are getting almost aced. Nate is still alive, but he's by himself, and I don't think he's taking a dragon solo.
Yep, and it looks like this might be the first dragon of the game for Nyanguard here. So that fight just turned a 10k gold deficit into a 6k gold deficit. Nate is hovering, though, for the Dragon Steel.
I don't believe that he has vision on this right now.
Well, he just hit the
Oh, he has the cone, yeah.
so he does.
We'll see if he can see it. He's wrapping around. He's getting collapsed on. And Exosi should just be ignoring this dragon right now and purely burning down the Amumu. Amumu's trying to burn it down himself. It's going to be a smite fight. And neither jungler gets it. Red cleans it up with the Q. TP's coming in, and Lord of Penguins is in there as well. Pickens going forward as Nature's Grasp is going to lock them down. Juice over the wall, ready to execute one. Garen gets the kill. Garen gets a double kill. Miniman's already picking up a kill as well. That's 3 dead to defend the base. Misfortune is already pushing out top lane. She's going to have to recall to stop this enemy team from shoving down towers. And it looks like Nyanguard's already pinging bot and mid. They want both these inhibs exposed.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of an overcommit there. They did manage to pick up the dragon in the previous fight, but with that, Nyanguard managed to push that gold lead back the other direction, trending more towards 10k, as now they are locking on the base.
Yeah, bullet time was really, really good from Mako. Just clear out the way. Don't even question anything. We cannot afford to lose these towers right now. We just need to stall for our team to respawn.
Yep, and the ping's still coming bot lane, but Jamaple's able to very quickly clear this wave. So now they're aiming for some of the jungle camps since we don't have a Dragon or Baron up for now. Both teams are going to be looking for that. If we look across on the items, we have 2 Leandry's Torments coming out from Nyanguard, so that's definitely going to help with burning down the Maokai and the Nasus. Now we have Zhu working on her next item, it looks like she's going to be going Infinity Edge next, as opposed to going for something like an Armor Shred item, kind of relying on her tanks to burn down the other tanks. A bit of an interesting choice. We do have an anti-heal on Garen, so they do have at least some semblance of anti-heal, and we have a Locket off the Yona. So their team comp kind of rounded out. No other major purchases probably coming out before the next big Dragon or Baron fight. On the flip side, we have now the Warmongs on the Maokai. A bit of a controversial pick, but it definitely helps him out with the movement speed. And it looks like another skirmish.
Yep, Garen is just running down this Tryndamere. The silence isn't going to last long enough, though, as the Undying Rage is going to dissuade Lord of Penguins from moving forward on that one. I do think that the Misfortune building some heal cut would be very relevant. Not only do you get the armor pen for something like the Frozen Heart and the Thrown Mail that's being built on Asian bits right now, but I do think it's relevant to try to cut down some of the Spirit Visage healing. You match that with the Nasus Q natural healing and the Fleet Footwork, and Nasus is healing a very surprising amount of damage in a lot of these fights. So having some heal cut, especially one that can be spread very, very wide with something like a bullet time, I think is a little too relevant to pass. Or, wait, that's Zeri. Other way around.
Yeah, and kind of speaking of that, so they do have the anti-heal on the Garen. They don't really have, they also have anti-heal from the Bramble Vest, both on Mordekaiser and Amumu. So 3 sources of anti-heal coming out from Nyanguard. Unfortunately, on the flip side, we only have 1 source of anti-heal on Asian bits, and nothing otherwise. Ooh, yeah. Lots of ults burned here, and a teleport coming out. Looks like a big fight.
Yeah, looks like Asa's trying to get away around. Pickens going to go forward. He's taken out by Eiko. Eiko's going forward as well. She wants more. Miniman's trying to stay alive, and so is Red. Both are very, very low. Red's using this healing from the Spirit Visage to stay alive, and there is going to be an ace on Nyanguard. Quadra kill going over to Prime Eiko, and they could easily take over the Baron if they choose to.
Oh, it's going to be a hard Baron with just a tank and a lone ADC. Maybe pushing out some waves here. It'll be interesting to see what they try and get while everyone's down. They do need to either push something or get something out here, though. Well, Infinity Edge was picked up by Zeri after that last fight, and on the flip side, Nasus just got a Sterix Gauge. And the Baron is starting up after all.
Yeah, so Issa definitely could have waited a few more seconds to let the Warmogs heal him up. Would have been the few times in this game where I think the Warmogs healing would have been very relevant. But it looks like he's got plenty of healing coming out for the Q. Eiko has a lot of damage on hit as well. So being a pure ADC, it is going to be viable. Pickens solo here, and I guess that's enough for them to back off. I guess I can respect it. You don't want to throw this late into the game. But at the same time, Leona is the first one out the gate, and the next person behind her is a solid 5 seconds behind. So I think we easily could have stayed burning on the Baron. But I guess they'd rather position themselves for this dragon. Don't want to risk giving over the soul. They'd rather just take the reset while they can. I don't know if it's inherently wrong. I just think if we're going to pussy out like that, we don't start the Baron in the first place.
Yep, I think they should have really watched the timers, because there was no way that anyone was going to catch up to Leona in a reasonable amount of time there, and it looks like Joey is in no man's land.
Yep. Garen is going to be able to pick up that kill, and him dying right before the dragon does mean that Soul is likely to go over to the Neon Guard. And they are going to start it up. Jamaple is in the top side. He has TP to join his team if he desires to, but Garen is busy pressuring. That is going to be the secure from Mumu. Neon Guard has already sent Garen into the bot lane. He wants to pressure that tower while Tryndamere pressures the top side. Looks like Mini is walking his way up to the top lane. He's going to try to make his way over there. Couple of recalls coming out. Eiko's going to go try to defend this bot tower. She does have the bullet time, and that's probably the only way she's going to be able to defend it from where she's at. We'll see if she can get it. Flash forward on Nate. He's got the bandage toss. Locked down. Zhu's going to pick up the kill. Shutdown gold going over to the Zeri. And it looks like they're going to focus down some towers. Issa and Asian Bits did finally make their way back, but it's a little too late.
Well, and maybe not. It looks like Neon Guard is opting to leave as opposed to try and push for the end.
True, but we're late $1 short. We've already lost our bot inhib, and we didn't have to give it up if we had just all hit B.
This is very true. So now it looks like Neon Guard is positioning over to the Baron, taking the safer instead of more valor-ridden way to try and put it into the game. They are starting it up now, and it looks like we have two of the members, including the jungler from Nexusi, on the bot side of the map, so it looks like they are conceding this.
Yeah, I really like this from Neon Guard. Not only is it really safe to take Baron here, you get the added pressure of trying to end the game if a team fight goes in your favor, but you also have the TP on Lord of Penguins, and this Garen is a monster of not just 1v1ing, but also wasting time. So putting him in a side lane and allowing him to just simply pressure by himself makes you have to answer. I don't think that you can afford that Red matches him 1v1, but unfortunately he's really your only option. I don't think Jamaple can handle him 1v1. Issa's definitely not handling him 1v1, and neither is Eiko.
Yep. And so the thing is on this Tryndamere, we're now at the point where he's got Phantom Dancer and Infinity Edge. Dredgeblind comes out, and it looks like Tryndamere is going to catch up to him.
Yeah, they are hard focusing out Garen, and he looks like he's wasted a little bit of time. Red's going to try to TP back to the base to defend it, but mid tower is most likely to fall. Issa's trying to defend it by himself, but he loses the tower. Nature's Grass comes out to lock down Picken. He's going to be able to knock him back, choosing to push him away from his team. Red is not really going to get much out of that TP. Could have just simply recalled, but I understand the added fear of losing your base to this insane Baron pressure in the mid side.
Important of note here, with the Hex Dragon now on Neon Guard, all of those Zeri Qs, all of those static shift procs are also going to be proccing gigantic slows. So if Zeri is involved in a fight, you essentially will never be able to leave. So we combine that with the Solar Flare from Leona and the Zenith Blade, as well as Amumu's Bandage Toss into Cursed Sad Mummy, and you're not very likely to ever be able to leave any of these fights ever again, provided that anyone's hitting anyone. Also, Darkness Rise, Mordekaiser's passive, does have that small slow on it. Combining that with the Hex Dragon Soul, there's absolutely no way that you walk away from a fight with them. So from here on out, every fight is going to have to be an all-in between these teams.
Yeah, at this point, Merc Tread's Tenacity is a lot of value, but I believe you're right. With that much CC all layered on at the same time, 20% is still not enough to deal with everything that they're putting at you. And we are seeing pressure coming out on the inhib as the bullet time is going to try to clear out the wave. Eiko does a good job at canceling it just before the Leona ult can cast down on her. That is ult for ult, but mid inhib does fall, and Red is trying to take down this 1v1. Mini and Nate are really, really strong, and he's trying to run down Zhu. He's not have the stick potential. Nature's Wrath is going to try to lock him down, but he's going to fall to Lord of Penguins. The execute is just too strong as he takes it out as well. Eiko has already fallen to Zhu as the triple kill comes out from Zeri, and Ace on the next Sussy, and we're going to a game 3.
Yep. And it looks like the maybe navigating into this second game, they did hard ban out the jungle picks, but Nate simply stole Isa's jungle pick there. So unfortunate that they weren't able to do more going into a mid game. I do believe that Baron blunder may have really sealed the game for them there, whereas they could have been on the Baron backs going into that next fight at Dragon with the boosted stats. They didn't have that. So we'll have to see if perhaps this causes a side switch, or if maybe they're trying to rethink the way that they did bans before.
Yeah, and I do want to point out from a lot of our top laner matchups, the damage difference between some of our top lane champions that we've seen is absolutely astounding. About 41k from Red's Nasus, 41k from the Mordekaiser, but only 15,000 from this Tryndamere, doing almost less than his own Maokai, going 2 and 10. Oh, wait.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to play PvE, League of Legends. I don't know what to say there. Unfortunately, Tryndamere wasn't able to get too much into Mordekaiser without some intervention from Maokai. It is a hard ask to have your jungler come top and swing a fight in a different direction that way. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe that's an angle that they go for going into this next one.
And it looks like these teams are going to do a side selection swap. From the looks of it, Young Guard is being moved over to the blue side, so Nexusi has red side. So Nexusi is saying we want the first pick.
Alrighty. And it looks like there's going to be the teams are taking advantage of the small break between games, so they'll be back after that. And as they switch sides, do we know of any particular picks that we'd like to see coming out in this final game? Potentially one of these two teams getting eliminated after this one.
The only thing that I haven't really seen yet is we've talked about Lord of Penguins and some of his more standard picks. We talked about the Talon. We've talked about the Yone, the Victor, even the Syndra. I feel like the Syndra, especially with the buffs from recent patches and just how good of late scaling it is something that I would personally like to see. The downside with that is I don't believe it's easily counterable, but it is definitely not something you can just inherently blind pick, as there are a lot of champions that can perform well into Syndra and kind of punish her passivity lane style. Especially somebody who likes to roam a lot, maybe like some kind of assassin or a high mobility mage. So I would like to see the Syndra. I just fear that picking it in the first half of draft may not be the move.
Yeah, so it does look like going into this next game, perhaps we'll see Syndra, we'll see Victor, we'll see Talon, some things that I'd like to see out of that side. On the flip side of that, Asian Bits does play a very powerful Senna. And we do know there are several different picks that we could see out of Jamaple. If the Camille perhaps is something that does manage to make it through, that could be absolutely nuts. And still, nobody in this game dares to touch Smolder.
Yeah, I do think that that's something we could see come out. Some of these champions, or some of these players have definitely practiced Smolder before, but no one in this lobby from either team is somebody that I think of when I say that they are, I wouldn't say a Smolder main, but a proficient Smolder player. So I don't believe we will see that come out, even though it is a very safe neutral pick. I do believe we will likely see the Nasus come out again, though, whether it is, unless it's banned, obviously. But I could see the Nasus coming out simply out of the fact that it's just a very powerful blind pick, and it is a flex pick at the same time. So you don't have to commit it to top or to mid. And I do believe that all 4 of our laners from both top and mid are proficient enough to be able to play the Nasus. He's not a very high skill ceiling, so I do believe we will be able to have enough confidence from both teams to try it. I just don't know if they will actually commit to it. We'll have to see.
All right, fair enough. And so kind of going for just a couple things that we have going on in the Discord as we are going to be in these next couple weeks. We will be finishing up with the tournament, and there will be a survey monkey that'll go out to folks who participated just for future tournament stuff as well, to kind of get some feedback and perhaps see where we have some room for improvement on some of these things. The players are currently getting ready for that next game, and we're kind of in our break time. But so make sure to keep an eye out for that survey monkey that comes out about that, and you will be able to kind of provide some input as well. As we're going to be sliding into the holiday season, so we have some other things going on. We always kind of share deals and stuff like that throughout the holidays. And as the new split kicks up, everybody's going to need to get placed again in league. So make sure to pop in, hook up with a duo or get into a 5-stack for flex, and make sure that you earn those into season rewards really early so you don't forget about it going into the next split.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be very exciting moving into this holiday season. We've done some other fun events in the Discord as well. We've always done like some fun like arena and ARAM tournaments. But even outside of just the tournaments, I know the Secret Santa was a huge success last year. As someone who participated in it personally, I can say it was a lot of fun to not only have to find a gift for somebody that you may not know super well, but you get to meet new people along the way. I remember the person I bought a gift for, I knew of from the Discord, but had only really had 2-3 conversations with. And so it was a great excuse for me to try to get to know somebody new. And I can say I made a friend out of it. So if you're looking for a community, like we said before, it's a lot of fun to be in this Discord. There's more than just video games. It's more than just, try hards, let's burn some LP. There are a ton of people here who are just here to have a good time, have great conversation, and just build friendships along the way.
Yep, and whether you're into D&D or if you want to try and pop in for a watch party for something like the new Spy Family movie, we do that as well. Arcane Season 2 is coming up, and as our Discord is full of quite a lot of people who are League fans, in addition to the other games they play, we'll be doing several Arcane watch parties during this holiday season, so feel free to pop in for those too.
For sure. And now moving into this game 3. This is exactly what we were talking about of what we wanted when we walked into this match. We want a nail biter all the way to the finish line, super close from both of these teams, and I think so far we've gotten exactly that. Both these games, 1 and 2, neither did I feel like there was an absolute stomp coming in from one team. Even when I felt like there was a big throw going on from Young Guard in game 1, I still feel like they had it all the way until the very end. So I'm excited to see what game 3 has to offer. I'm hoping for another nail biter. And I unfortunately cannot play Silver Scrapes for it, as I would probably get copyright struck. But if somebody would like to make an original music of Bronze Scrapes or otherwise, somebody please shoot it over to me, because I would love to feature some unique music for going into our final of the match.
Yeah, and kind of going forward for our best of 5 series games that we have coming up, we'll definitely try and add something like that, even if it's uh, perhaps a bit of a chopped and screwed Silver Scrape, so we don't get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe I can
going forward,
acapella it. I'm really good at beatboxing.
oh man! And before you beatbox too well, and we still get a copyright strike. The so the other thing is every year for Worlds we always do a pick'ems, kind of switching gears here a little. Um, every year for Worlds we do a pick'ems contest. So the top 3 people for that get a special title in the Discord called Clairvoyant. So as all of the official League of Legends tournament series are finishing up, we're getting close to the point where we're going to start doing pick'ems. So if you are interested in watching some of the official League of Legends tournament games for Worlds, feel free to pop in and do that. It's going to be at the O2 Arena in London this year, and the play-ins and some of the other stuff is going to be kind of spread throughout the rest of Europe. So kind of late at night, demon, goblin hours, whatever you will. But Lots of us around here don't tend to sleep very much on the weekend anyway, so if you want a crowd to watch Worlds with, be sure to hit us up and pop in.
Oh yeah, those watch parties are a lot of fun. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the way that some of these leagues, major regions, have been wrapping up. I won't go into any spoilers, as I find it very annoying when people spoil results for me. But I will say that some of these major regions, the finals did not go the way I expected. For the LCS specifically, it was not how I intended it to go. And if you have not watched that match yet, do yourself a favor and watch the match in its entirety. I know I say that a lot of like, oh, you want to watch every single piece of gameplay. Every single one of those games feels like it was impactful in some way. In the final game, if you watch nothing else for all of LCS, all of PCS, LPL, any of it, LCK, go and watch LCS finals last game. The way that the final minutes of the game go actually had me screaming in joy, laughter, and sadness all at the same time.
Yeah, and I love to see really close games like that in esports. So hopefully, we get to see some nice East versus West gameplay as we go through Worlds this year. And we always do some more private bets. Nothing that would be against Twitch TOS. If people want to bet a skin or something against each other in the game, that is something that happens sometimes too. So feel free to do that as well. I would love to see G2 finally take home a trophy, as I believe they've earned it after tons of years. But on the flip side, so has Gen G, and we might see Hanwha Life get their first ever Worlds win this coming year as well. So that could be very exciting. Oh, and it does look like we have some lobby issues, so there might be a small delay here.
Well, I really hope that didn't throw my software into a tizzy. But I will take this opportunity to swap over the team logos since it doesn't seem like that updated properly.
All right. And so it looks like the players are actively remaking the lobby, so that might take just a moment here. But again, with this split coming to a close, some of the changes that are coming up for Worlds, several champions have gotten some incredible buffs, whereas in the earlier part of the season, champions like Yasuo and Yone were in a absolute terrible state due to the removal of lethal tempo and the item changes. Now we're at a point where some of those same champions that were horribly turned off by the start of the split now have a new lease on life, as well as some of the ADCs have went from being a bit of a joke pick to being in practically every lane. Um, so the next patches are kind of designed in League of Legends to fix that, and that's kind of been a big point of both debate and contention among a lot of players to say like, okay, maybe we need lethal tempo, maybe we just need better itemization options, etc. I personally would like to see more of stat combinations that don't exist in the game, because I feel like, especially when you're trying to make some really spicy picks and some interesting plays, the game is a lot more fun when you have more item combinations.
Yeah, I think Lethal Tempo coming back is definitely a step in the right direction. And we can definitely rework it a little bit. Like I was saying earlier, nerf it for the melees that were kind of abusing it. But either way, it'll be an exciting new season of League, and it'll be exciting Worlds to go and witness. And while we're witnessing big tournaments like Worlds, we're witnessing the Tournament of Champions Season 2 playoffs as the lower bracket is about to come to a round 2 end. This is the final game of the match, Game 3. As we're seeing a few bans come out already. Nocturne and Viego, same bans from NextOC last time as it is this time. We'll see if they wrap it up with a Bel'Veth as well. Meanwhile, in Yon Guard, they've taken out the Aurora, they've taken out the Amumu, and the Zeri is actually going to be the last ban, so the Bel'Veth is going to be up. I don't see Bel'Veth being blind picked necessarily. I could be wrong. Maybe there's more comfort in the pick than I know of. But I do like NextOC saying we do not want to deal with another hyper-fed Zeri once again, and of course the Camille to wrap out the 3 bans.
Yep, and it seems like on repeat, there's no way they're ever letting Jamaple get this Camille pick. The Skarner could be going anywhere, though.
True. We were talking about flex picks. Skarner is definitely one of those. I would argue that it's got to be more for Issa in the jungle. I believe I've seen him play Skarner a good amount of times before, and he does lean towards those tankier CC type junglers as his natural play style. So I think it would make sense to throw it on him. But Jamaple, sure enough, has the ability to play Skarner as well. Skarner is definitely a very viable top laner as well. So definitely a good flex pick. And it looks like we've hovered the Shaco every single round so far. I'm not too confident that we're actually going to see it locked in here, but I would be excited if it did. And yeah,
Well,
that's exactly what I thought. We're going to pick
Shaco
up...
is an anagram for chaos.
Shaco is an anagram for chaos, but not chaotic enough, as Misfortune is just going to be locked in for Aiko once... oh, wait. No. Not quite. Aiko actually had her Misfortune stolen. I forgot we swapped sides. So, yeah, Aiko is going to be put on the Ashe, which I think is a really strong counter into the Misfortune. It's really easy to just trade R for R, and it's going to be up to Leona to kind of help body block it. Neon Guard picking up Nate's Zyra. I do think that that's a very relevant pick. I've seen Nate pop off on Zyra before. The clears are very, very fast. The Dragon and Baron pressure is very, very high with all the plants. And it gives more AoE CC potential for this Misfortune that they've picked up. DG, also known as J, has played plenty of Misfortune games before, so definitely proficient in the pick. Definitely has the ability to carry with it. And I think Misfortune is just a very strong laner and team fighter right now. Good sustain with the Bloodthirster Rush, good damage with the bullet time damage. And yeah, the Nasus is also coming out. This time from Nexosi's side, they said, we don't want to play it ourselves, and we don't want to give it over to the enemy team.
Yeah, so it looks like we are going through... the Tristana could be mid, and is likely coming out mid for Lord of Penguins. It is one of his pocket picks, kind of going into several of these harder games. And it looks like we're gonna see Jamaple on Darius, another one of his signature picks as well.
Yeah, banning out the Mordekaiser is huge here. I don't think Darius does well into Mordekaiser in beyond maybe level 1. But the Gnar is about to come out. Are we gonna see it locked in? Gnar is really strong into Darius. Darius is going to have to take Ghost if he wants to stick in on this Gnar. And if Darius is taking Ghost, Flash, that means he doesn't have TP. Very, very punishable in the mid to late game if we see it. But
yeah, and so both of these teams got a good amount of CC on both sides. We got the Darius pull. We got CC in multiple forms from Skarner. Ahri has the Charm for picks. Echo has the Ashe R, and Braum is a gigantic CC bot. On the flip side, we could be seeing some really big Gnar ults. Definitely the Jungle Zyra is something a bit interesting, even though it doesn't have a lot of engage itself. You do have the Solar Flare and the Zenith Blade from Leona to help set it up. And then it'll be interesting to see how this combination of characters works. So, there's a lot of squishy characters being picked up this time for Neon Guard, unlike their previous comps where they were a bit tankier. So they'll have to be a lot more careful on some of these more ballsy dives.
yeah, I do think that Neon Guard has the Wombo in their favor, whereas Nexosi has a lot of pick potential. You have the Braum passive, you have Ashe ultimate from downtown, you have Ahri's ability to dash in and charm, even Skarner who can fly through debris and maybe drag somebody back into the team. Whereas Neon Guard is very, very team-oriented. You have Leona, you have Gnar, and you have Zyra, all with AoE, huge CC, all to couple with this bullet time. That means that a lot of pressure indirectly is going to be on DG. This Misfortune is going to have great positioning, is going to have to play safe in the laning phase. We cannot afford to be behind, and we're going to have enough damage to eat through this Braum shield, which is way easier said than done.
Yeah, and I would say, at least for Lord of Penguins, this seems to be a winning matchup with the Tristana into the Ahri. There's not a lot that Ahri can do, at least early into Tristana, and especially with that jump, she has a lot of zones of safety to where even something like Ahri with 3 dashes might not be able to get on her and melt her down from 100 to 0. On the flip side, there is a lot of different damage options that are coming out from Neon Guard as a team. Nexusi might have to watch out a little bit in regards to that. because if that MF starts to pop off, the Tristana starts to pop off, or the Zyra really starts to get the damage down, even though they are the kind of tankier picks this time, they might not be able to stand up through all of that damage.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that's going to be coming out of this game specifically is the mid lane matchup. We've seen before if Ari can get ahead, that she can very easily snowball a team. And Tristana with her resets is the exact same way. I think one thing that Lord of Penguins is going to be looking for is kind of hoping and banking on the fact that Red is going to have to roam to help out some of his teammates or help out with some of these skirmishes in the jungle. And I think Lord of Penguins is just going to say, you know what, if you want the dragon, go right ahead. I'm going to trade out 2-3 plates for it in the mid lane.
Yep. And so that's the other thing is Tristana is quintessentially the same level of being able to push that we saw previously from other teams.
Who joined our call?
Let's see. That is Issa. I think he's in the wrong spot.
Issa, what are you doing,
Wait, are you
dog?
guys streaming on Twitch?
Yeah, we're streaming your game.
I was gonna ask. Nate didn't take Smite.
Wait, what?
We're loading into the game. Nate didn't take Smite. He's the jungler.
Oh,
I think we have
that's
to remake.
just a,
Oh
that's
my
just a-
gosh.
That's just a mistake on their part, no?
Do they have to play like that?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't take Smite.
I think they dodged because we've been in this loading thing. Okay, I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Later.
Yep.
Well,
Right, and might have to have some judge procedural things going on, so I will be back after a brief sabbatical on my part.
yeah, I'll trust your judgment on how to handle that fairly.
Yep, and right on. I will be back in just a moment.
Yeah, that is rough. I think in terms of applying the rules as proper, it definitely should be that Nate not taking Smite is his own fault. That said, in terms of sportsmanship, if I were on Nexus's side, I would personally hand over the Smite, knowing that it is, for me, it's not the way I'd like to finish out my victory on the match. I would not feel happy or joyful knowing that I took the victory in Game 3 because the enemy team trolled themselves. Now, if they outplay, if they had a bad invade, if they flashed under a tower and died for it, I'm willing to take all of that. But somebody accidentally taking the wrong runes and having their summoner spells changed in the champ select, it just doesn't sit right with me personally. But there's nothing in the rules that say that you have to give sportsmanship in that oh, yeah, the game has completely crashed out. So, yeah, we are going to go back. Are we loaded in right now? I don't see. 4 minutes in. Yeah, it looks like they're... Let me see if I can reload this once again. If I can't even view the game, I don't even know how we can rule the game. It's likely paused right now as Ren is trying to figure out what to do in this situation, but I can't even seem to get the game loaded right now. Does the game even exist? Is it paused? The world may never know. Sneaky, trying to keep me hydrated. You know what? I appreciate that you redeemed that because I actually ran out of water during one of the games earlier, and I haven't really gotten a chance to go get me some more. So while we're trying to sort out whatever this mess is, I'm going to go get some water, and I guess I'm going to come back and chug it because I've got like 6 hydrates to catch up on now. I will be right back. Hopefully I'm back in time before Ren rejoins this call with whatever ruling he's got. All right. Looks like the game has loaded up, but was immediately paused. The players have not even left Fountain yet. And it does not seem that the overlay changed over. Let me... There we go. All right. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sips of water to get down. So let me waterboard myself really quick since we're waiting a minute or so anyways. Oh, my word. Words of wisdom to those of you at home. If you're going to chug a bunch of water in one quick motion, don't have it ice cold straight out of the fridge. Oh, my throat hurts. I'm going for hypothermia. One more. Well, my apologies. Apologies to those of you in chat. I'm sure that's not the ASMR that you guys signed up for when you came to watch Game 3 of the match. But unfortunately, we are going to be here for a wee bit longer. Maybe I should pull up some waiting music or something. I wonder if I can... I can't even look around on the map. So, well, I guess we can catch up in the chat. Legally, if the teacher doesn't join in 15 minutes, we can leave. You okay with the remake? Because of the smite bug. There ain't no bug. Why did it swap when he had it 2 games in a row? Ren is going to make you choose. Well, I can take a good guess.
Okay. I talked with both of the teams. They are currently paused. They will be unpausing shortly. There is a confirm. They are not remaking the game. Nate had a mistake where he did not remember to swap to the summoner spells. We had several other mistakes like this that happened throughout the tournament where people forgot to swap runes or summoners. So keeping up the previous ruling from the other games, going forward, I let it go down to a gentleman's agreement if they really did want to both remake to fully do a remake. One of the teams, especially because several people have to work very early tomorrow, did not want to remake. So the game will proceed as normal after they unpause. So we won't be remaking this lobby.
Yeah, well, and I think to answer Lord of Penguins' comment, why did it swap when he had it 2 games in a row? If I'm going to take a guess, I'm going to say that Nate uses the pre-made rune page when signing up for a new champion. And so likelihood is what he did is he decided I'm going to take a quick pre-made page for Zyra Comet build, which it probably assumed was Zyra support. So it took away his smite for Ignite, and Nate, either with ignorance or because he's blind, just didn't bother to look and check his summoner spell before the game loaded in. But I do kind of agree. If this was ranked game, if this was solo queue, if this was flex, if this was the world stage, you would not be remaking this game for a smite. Now,
Yep.
I was talking while you were gone. I am all about gentlemen's agreements. So if both teams decided, hey, it was an honest mistake, I know you didn't mean to take Ignite, I'm fine with the quick remake. We could easily quit the game really quick, load up a blind pick, and just fire right into the game. But at the same time, I'm not going to shame somebody for wanting to enforce the rules. That is exactly what they're there for. And I agree. If this was, I had meant to take Ignite in the top lane, but I took TP, doesn't matter. We wouldn't have any sympathy on that one just as much as we don't have Smite for Ignite. I know in my personal game, we had a moment where we were using a third-party drafting website, and for whatever reason, it accidentally picked us Rammus instead of the Lilia that we had wanted. And instead of saying, well, we actually meant to pick this champion, we decided, you know, the enemy team is definitely going to enforce us to keep this Rammus as it was. And so we ended up just first picking Rammus. We ended up winning the game, so it worked out in the end. But it was definitely a weird, like, frown upon pick is our jungler, although Rammus isn't the most complicated champion, was not proficient on the character. So it definitely put us on the back burner and definitely allowed the enemy team to stack a bunch of APs in our face.
Yeah, and kind of keeping with that same trend, uh, I was actually guilty of doing this in one of our games way earlier in the tournament, where I meant to play Jace along with the rest of my team playing all of the T1 picks. Unfortunately, I made a mistake where I wasn't quite fast enough at switching my summoners, and so I ended up with Conqueror Jace instead of Fleet Jace, which led to me having a much harder matchup as Fleet is very broken on that champion. Um, so sometimes, unfortunately, in League of Legends, if you make mistakes in your setup, in terms of your bans, in terms of things like that, they're kind of on you. So again, just make sure that going game to game, you check all of your runes, masteries, summoner spells, etc., and be that vocal voice in your audio to say, "Hey, you know what? Let's make sure that everybody's got their stuff straight."
Yeah, and it looks like I can't tell if we're paused or if the game is just kind of lagging out right now.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what is happening in terms of
Oh, yeah,
loading. Oh, yep.
just a little bit of a lag, I guess, but very interesting start. If there's one thing we talked about, now obviously this is not fully intentional, but if there's one thing we talked about at the beginning of this match is which of these teams in the tournament is up for some very spicy thoughts, plans, and team strategies. The Zyra global support is definitely an interesting strategy.
Yes, it is. And so we do see some innovation coming out from the team. We're going back to a little bit of an old school season one. We got an ADC mid, we got two supports. This reminds me of back in the old days when I was but a wee level 10 summoner for the first time ever.
Season 1 strats indeed. We are going from jungle to juggle, as we are going to see this Zyra bounce lane to lane.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if you know your LCS history, but there has only been one recorded major region tournament with an official juggle character. Do you have any idea who that jungler turned juggler was?
No, I don't actually.
It was an anagram for chaos. It's actually Shaco. So in
That
I
is
believe it was
fantastic.
season 2, there was one professional game where Shaco was picked and opted not to take Smite, rather taking I believe Exhaust Ignite, and just bounced from lane to lane, mainly mid and top lane, just constantly pressuring and fighting. Did take a few jungle camps every once in a while, but predominantly mainly just stuck to the 2 buffs and just looked to invade, looked to jank top, looked to gank mid. They did not win the game. And it was never picked in professional play ever again, to my knowledge.
All right, and it does look like the two teams are going at it here at mid lane, and Darius is getting the double shove-in treatment at top from the Zyra Gnar combo.
Yep, this is lane swap heaven, and Issa is going to have the whole jungle, both bottom and top, to himself. Potentially, if Jamaple can just play it safe under tower, sack off some XP, sack off some farm, you could see a huge gold advantage coming in from Issa as he just runs from camp to camp, all with the free will that he has.
All right, and so here we are. Unfortunately, Darius seeing ooh,
That
and
was
the
a
Ignite's
very
out.
good hook under tower as the Ignite does come out from Nate. Flash is burned as well to try to escape as he is barely alive. They are going to be able to pressure it out. This tower is not going to be taking much of any damage, so not going to be a whole lot. I guess you get to farm your support item.
This is very true. So who knows? We might be able to see a Zyra roam into mid here coming up.
And Jamaple TP's back to lane just to eat a bunch of plant damage right as he spawns in. He's going to try to pick up these minions, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get very many. The harass is just too strong.
Yeah, so this is one of those situations where if you're the top laner, you are really begging for your jungler to come and give you a visit. And the first blood, though.
Yeah, the burn and auto attack damage coming out from Nate is going to trigger the passive of the tower the moment you get drug under. And sure enough, you get one hook, and you immediately tank the tower up. Charm comes out from Lord of Penguins as the bomb is going to get bursted. He does have the jump again. He needs to get out, and he does escape to the jungle. And looks like we are very salty in the chat.
But of course.
And he flashes away. Jamaple's going to get another kill. This is a 1v2 lane, and the Darius already has a double. Nate trying to defend his jungle from Issa's tyrannical dictatorship, as he is trying to rule with an iron fist over everything that moves and breathes through the woods.
And it looks like we got Tristana in.
Yep, another engage. Lord of Penguins is going to fire off an entire bomb on back of Red. Ari's going to try to back up. Still hasn't reset yet. Can easily TP back to lane, so that damage is not going to stick.
All right, and it does look like she's trying her best to kind of hold off this this bottom tower. No jungle assistance coming to help, so this is surprisingly a clean 10 CS up on her adversary in the bot lane on Ico. However, with no help coming, her and Picken do have to figure out how to navigate this lane against their adversaries with no help.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a play it safe role, but still, Issa can only be somewhere on the map at one time. He's only one man. So if you get a little bit of vision in the river, if you have some jungle tracking, you should be fine. And it looks like they're going out of their way to try to keep up vision, not just in the river, but also the entrances to the jungle. So they want to know, is he taking his own camps? Is he taking our camps? Can we collapse on him? Yeah, sure, he doesn't have a jungler to contest him, but he just does still have laners that can easily rotate back around and collapse in.
Yeah, so I think what this game might come down to is how fast can we get out of this lane phase? Because once Zyra is completely out of lane phase, it really doesn't make that much of a difference whether the Zyra is actually your jungler or just your jungler in spirit. So it's very sensible that they're trying to pressure Jamaple as much as they can to get him out of this wave and out of this lane, and then on to team fights.
Yeah, I do think that one thing that is going to be a major disadvantage, and it's a very obvious one, is your ability to secure jungle objectives. And now at any point, you basically never get to touch a Baron, you never get to touch a Dragon, unless Issa is dead. You cannot afford to take a 5v5 in the hope that Issa is peeled off away from these fights. Because if Issa flashes in and gets a smite, there's nothing you can do. No one on your team has high enough burst to match smite.
This is true, and combine that with the fact that Skarner has the ability, he was born with the ability, in fact, to see through walls and move through walls. You can't quite count him out even if he's on the other side of a structure, unlike Maokai.
Exactly. If we look at the gold graph so far on the map, we are about 1,000 gold up on the side of Nexusi. A lot of that likely is coming from the 2 kills rather than necessarily the farm. Although Issa is likely very far up in gold. Yep, about 800 gold. Oh, big fight coming in as Issa's going forward. The passive's already stacked up on Zhu. The passive's stacked up on Picken. Picken is going to fall as the Ignite is on Zhu. She flashes and cleanses it, and the Exhaust also comes out. Meanwhile, on the top lane, the Ignite is going in on Darius. He's trying to stay forward on Nate, but Nate is out of mana. He's backing it up slowly. He barely misses that Q, but it's not going to matter as Darius is falling anyways. The amount of damage coming in from 2 top laners is just a little too oppressive.
Yep, and it looks like Nate is opting to back as opposed to apply more pressure into this tower. Looks like they're going for 1 plate and then running it back.
Something else that I
he's
think
going for 2.
Yeah, something else that I think we noticed or missed in the mid lane, I guess the camera never panned over, is that Red was able to pick up a solo kill on a Lord of Penguins at some point.
Yep. I think it was when Lord of Penguins hopped in. He tried to put up a lot of damage there, and then Red managed to level up on that wave, ulted backwards, ulted back forwards, hit him with the Ignite, and then I think from there the rest of the fight was clinched. However, of note, Lord of Penguins is down quite a lot of CS here, so then it looks like Ari is got a little bit more of an increasing lead.
Yeah, we can tab back over to the gold real quick. About 1,000 gold up in the mid lane. About dead even with the top lane. 1,000 gold up on the jungle. Dead even pretty much across the board everywhere else. So, yeah, 2k gold lead on the enemy team, and it's mainly coming out from this mid-jungle duo. Both of which are very scary picks. Issa being up in gold, not very surprising. He's farming jungle camps while the enemy is not. But Red, pretty much single-handedly getting himself a lead is very, very scary. And there is a stun into knockup Zhu is not walking away from this one as a kill is going to go over to Prime Mako's Ashe.
Yep, they saw the Leona on the wave mid there while Picken was covering mid, and they just saw their chance and took it as soon as they could.
And more all chat banner coming out.
Oh, but of course, that was going to naturally come about. So we've got a little bit of a push here. There's some plates coming out. Picken just trying to stun Braum a little bit under this tower as opposed to clearing the wave. Maybe playing a bit emotionally there instead of logically.
Yeah, I can imagine emotions are very rampant across the Neon Guard as they are just struggling to keep it in. Eiko is going to be able to flash away from this one as the bullet time comes out. Asian Bits puts up the barrier as the shield is going to block a lot of the damage. Is it going to block it quite enough, though? Picken is super low. He's going to have to back away here as Zhu is moving forward in the 1v2. Meanwhile, in the top lane, 2v2, Jamaple and the snare. Suppress comes out from Issa as he drags him back towards the lane as Nate is going down. Jamaple super low. Mini's going to be able to pick up a kill if he doesn't play his cards right. Jamaple is going to have to play it safe. These plants are still hurting him, and the TP is coming in, likely from Lord of Penguins from the base. He's going to have to back away, and this tower is very likely to fall. Lord of Penguins really wants to run Jamaple down as he's going to start to proxy a wave if he's not careful. Issa goes forward. Mini's still right behind him. He doesn't want this fight. Flash backwards as Nar is going to be able to pick up the kill. He's giving it over to Lord of Penguins on the Q. Or the ult buster
even
shot.
That shield wasn't enough. Oh, and we got another TP.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we dove under the tower for that one, but yeah, we are going to die off to Red as the Ari pops the ultimate, gets the reset, and Mini gets a plate as he's forced away off the TP as well. About to go Mega, he's not going to be able to have very high mobility. This Darius probably wins that 1v1 if he does stick around.
Yep, and it looks like they're kind of clearing up the wave as best they can here. So, yeah, it's looking like a very interesting Game 3. The double support tech is definitely pretty good, despite the issues to get it onto the field in the first place. But it does look like they're playing it the absolute best they can. So currently, Mini's getting pushed in a little bit here by Jamaple. On the flip side, we've got a little bit of a roam from Zyra alternating between mid-top. Still, bot lane can't really get help here as the support is kind of locked to that top side of the map. And perhaps something that they could look to do here would be swapping Tristana to the top lane into the Darius, and then swapping the Gnar, Zyra into the mid lane so that they could actually start to contest this dragon, which Issa is currently approaching uncontested.
Yeah, Leona's ult is going to go wide, but Asian Bits' isn't. We got the shield up to try to keep away from the bullet time as it doesn't come out quite yet. Zhu's trying to be patient with it. Eikos gets stunned up in the back line as Asian Bits is going to proc that passive. Issa comes flying in, dragging him back as Eiko is going to be able to pick up another kill here for sure. 2 kills now on Ashe as she is slowly gaining a bigger and bigger lead in this bot lane. 8-2 for their next Sissy into the Neon Guards. About a 3k gold lead.
All right, and this is the first significant gold lead that they've managed to build during the series. So pretty close games here overall. Zyra's E is going to hit here on top at Jamaple, and then Jamaple's going to back up. So Gnar is back in the lane, and it looks like blue side is going to be falling on top. So it'll be interesting to see what that does to free up. Oh.
Yep, just going to go under tower. Ari's got too many dashes, and with the reset, it gets him right back out. Yeah, this is not looking good for the Neon Guards. Oh, ultimate comes out. The Ornn goes wide. Oh. Miniman is going to pick up a kill. He dumps back under the tower, and he's tanking it up. Oh, he gets executed, though. Darius was not able to touch him before the fight ended, and Nate is very likely to be able to take this tower after clearing out the wave.
Yep, and with that, Jamaple's dead. Unfortunately, that means that Mini's also dead. Isn't able to pick up the gold from this, but Nate is. That's going to be able to put him into Leandri's Torment on next back. So now they need to start getting a hang on what are they going to do with these grubs, these dragons, and kind of making their way throughout the rest of the map now that they've released their second support from top lane.
Yeah, I think a big thing is going to be trying to put a band-aid on this mid lane. The tower is almost gone. All it's going to take is one wave uncontested in the mid lane for this thing to go down, and it's going to open up a lot of the map. so that Issa
Yep.
can run buck wild on the enemy jungle, taking all the camps he wants. Ashold is coming into the mid lane. It's going to end up hitting. Hey, oh my gosh, Zhu is going to get bursted down. Passive procs from the Braum as Red gets another kill. 4-0 on the Ahri. That was an amazing downtown snipe from Prime Mako.
Zenith Blade comes out.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough, though. This tower was already way too weak. And they're picking up the Rift Herald on top of it, meaning they might get the next one, Tier 2.
Yep, it's looking like they are going to get the Rift Herald here on top side as well. I don't know if they're going to use that to even out top or if they're going to let that further apply pressure even further on mid. And it looks like Zyra is helping to keep the Braum away from Tristana for now.
Yeah, and using the plants for a little bit of added vision, just to make sure we're not about to get risk of dove. But a Penguin's going
and the
forward.
Hawk is in.
Bomb does proc. He has another jump if he chooses to go forward. The Q comes out. Red has a lot of damage. Bullet time is coming out. Forces Red to take a retreat. Echo is getting dove in on by Pickin. Exhaust comes out as well. That's going to be a kill going over to Zhu. That's double kill and shutdown gold as Asian Bits is about to follow right behind. Lord of Penguins picking up that one. Good play from the Neon Guard. That is going to be a lot of gold in their pocket. And that takes the goal lead from 3K only to a 1.
Yep, and with that, both of the ADCs on Youngard are looking a lot more powerful going into this game. So we will see if they can use this momentum to keep going. On the flip side, we've got Jamaple on top side. He does still have... Oh, no, he actually used it. So the Rift Herald seems not to be in his pocket. Not that I'm seeing. Where is it?
Must have gotten dropped already, or maybe never picked up.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the Rift Herald.
Does Rift Herald? Oh, Red flashing forward, Nate flashing away. Red's got too much sticking power with this ultimate, though, as he is eventually going to pick up the kill on Nate.
With the cheeky thumbs up. Oh,
Yeah.
and the pull goes wide on Darius.
Does the Rift Herald proc in chat? Oh, that is a very close Ash arrow.
No, it doesn't, I don't believe.
I don't think so either.
Well, yeah, it just tells you who killed it, not who used it. But I didn't see it dropped yet.
Yeah, I didn't either. So might be a visual bug. More likely than not, it just got wasted or never picked up.
Ooh, and the solar flare right on the money.
Yeah, Knockup is going to stop Zhu from ulting, but she doesn't even have the bullet time quite yet. Asian Bits is going to flash away, and Pickin's going right behind him. You're going to try to stun him up. Passive goes in on Pickin to try to dissuade him, and yep, they are just going to walk away. They have a turret to defend and a mid lane to push out.
Yep, excellent solar flare from Pickin there, and very good play. We got some more banter, smileys, and emotes coming out in the chat. You love to see it. Sometimes you gotta practice the good old APA, Yapped in America approach.
And speaking of our good old APA, Tristana picking up a solo kill on this Ahri. That is huge for Neon Guard. Now Lord of Penguins has the confidence that he can take this 1v1, one item into 2.
Yep, and one item at a time. We're starting to see Tristana come on more and more online here, despite the 30 CS deficit into his lane opposite. And likewise, we've got quite a CS lead that Gnar has managed to build here with all of that pressure under tower. Also 30 up on Darius. So kind of position flip there. And Ju has a whopping 40 CES over her adversary in bot lane. So a very powerful misfortune despite not having too many kills under her belt.
Yeah, and that is going to put her at 800 gold up, combining that with all the towers that have been taken as well. Huge gold leads coming out from everywhere except for really the jungle. On Neon Guard side, we are having our top laner about 900 gold up. We have our bot lane about 800 gold up. We have our support about, actually 400 gold down. Fairly even in the grand scheme of supporting. Oh, as Maple's about to get run down. He's got the ultimate, but the guillotine is not going to take him out. Nate is going to be able to come in and clean it out with a quick little plant combo.
Yep, and so that Mega Gnar definitely saved the day there, as the transformation gave them just the HP back they needed to withstand the Noxian Guillotine. So the Guillotine not actually giving a revolution this game, but it looks like things are finally getting evened up. However, on dragons, that's where Neon Guard is definitely kind of lacking here. With no direct smite this game to help them out on the dragons, they are 2 behind.
Yeah, they are definitely going to be tower takers for this game. And it has really been the best way that they've been able to stay in. Oh, Ash ult from across the map, but no one's really going to be there to capitalize on it. Just going to hold Tristana still for a little bit, waste a little bit of time. And it looks like Mini was going to be able to defend this bot tower. That is very, very relevant for the Neon Guard because that means they get the top tower and they don't really lose anything for it. Putting Nexusi on the back burner. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we're seeing a collapse on the bot lane and a collapse on the top side as the bullet time is taking Issa down. Issa has managed to get out and he goes into death. Red is the one who's barely escaping with 100 health. Prime Echo's trying to kite it out as the ultimate is going to come out from Leona, stuns her up. Exhaust is going to take her out as Lord of Penguins dashes forward. The kill actually going over to Picken. Lord of Penguins gets that reset as he jumps forward. Bullet time is going to be able to slow him down, and that's another kill going over to Lord of Penguins. 4 and 3 now on this Tristana.
This is a fantastic game so far. Really good adaptation from Yongard, despite all of the mistakes. So it looks like they are certainly in this game. They are locked in and they are ready to play it out.
Yeah, top lane is going to fall, but it looks like mid lane may not be too far after. Charm under the tower, that's super good. Zhu is tanking it up, and Lord of Penguins is actually going to be able to survive because of it. I don't think that that was intentional, but it certainly is beneficial. And another smiley face coming out from Pickens Leona on the all chat. Everyone is having a great time despite the odds. And you had better believe whichever team we interview in the post-game is going to have a lot to say.
This is very true. So we got a little bit of we got some banter going in the game. I'm sure that the tournament chat is going to be absolutely full of it coming up after this. And it looks like we got another skirmish here.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see too much come out of this. Oh, Issa is going to stay a little too far forward as Nara's going to come forward and stun him up against the wall. Pickens got his ultimate coming out, and the passive is stuck on him from Braum. Bullet time comes out. It's blocked a lot by the wall as the Asian Bits puts up the shield. That is going to be a little bit of damage coming in from Guillotine and the Ash.
Yep, and we are at 13 to 13. So Baron is up as an option. It does look like we weren't using the Misfortune ult there. Lined up for it, didn't actually get it out. The Ash ult did manage to connect on the right targets though, and sadly Issa didn't get to drop the Skarner ult before dying, and we still have the Braum ult. So looking into the next fight, we might see a little bit of an advantage there, provided that we aren't able to get Solar Flare back on Leona prior to that. But with 4 ultis up, and Yongard is looking to fight it up for the next fight that they can. There's quite a bit of time until Dragon though, so we'll have to see what these teams come up with between now and then.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I saw from Zhu come out on that shield though. I swear I saw the bullet time start up. It didn't last very long, I didn't think, but yeah, the cooldown is not on, so I must have been looking at something else.
Yeah, it may have been a visual bug between the Leona W with that particular skin. The first initial frames do kind of look like the frames that she has for bullet time. She did drop the Make It Rain in the auto queue, so it may have been just that kind of coming out back to back and looking like a visual bug. But it does look like she still has the ultimate. Kimtech is going to be in a minute, and we do have Baron as well. So kind of surprising that we don't have a lot of wards coming out on that side. It looked like Nate is placing just a little bit of vision on that top side just to make sure that they're not trying to do anything cheeky. And Minnie is hovering over near Baron. Dragon is coming out. Nobody's on the map. And nobody really sees on that side of the map quite yet either.
Yeah, Neon Guard is in the shadows right now. There's very little vision. They got it all set up around this dragon. Nothing on the top side. If Neon Guard chooses, they can either take this team fight against Nexusi and try to take the dragon out that way, or they can just ditch it all together and try to burn down the Baron before they get off the dragon. We'll have to see what they go for. And it looks like they want the vision control. They want to take this fight. They're very confident that they can win it out. And they do have all the ultimates online from both teams, so the next fight that we see could be a very, very bloody one.
Oh, the ulti goes wide, unfortunately.
Flash forward from Jamaple. He's got the hook in. Leona is going to pull it out, and the bullet time does come out this time. Lots of damage, but not quite enough as Nate is going to fall. Issa's trying to burn, but he's not going to fall. Primeco is trying to put out some damage as the charm comes in on Mini. He's getting chunked out. He's going to have to back up a little bit. Has the TP if he needs to go back and rejoin the fight. They are probably going to have to concede this dragon. As, yeah, Nexosi is rotating their way over to the Chemtech and taking any wards they see along the way.
Yeah, and I think that in that team fight, Zhu really saved it because without her ulti, I think that would have been a dire fight, especially with the Zyra getting hooked like that and engaged on multiple times. The Solar Flare was able to fight them back a little bit, but we held on to the exhaust, and there wasn't any additional flashes burned. So Gnar does still have the Flash Mega Gnar combo, and with that, that is a very powerful engage just in case they need to do something around this Baron. But in the event that Nexusi is kind of thwarted here, and if they get 4 down with Tristana's pushing power, and you know, especially with all of these grubs that they managed to pick up, they're looking for a very, very powerful push.
Nate is putting out the damage on Issa. Issa has done nothing but hard stack armor, meaning that Nate gets free reign to do as much damage as he wants. Red gets hit by the Buster Shot and the Ari Dash, meaning he's going to move quite some distance away from this Baron. And yeah, Nexus is just going to call the fight over, take a Scuttle Crab for their troubles. And looks like Mini wants to try to get the steal. I don't think he got it. Yeah, he did not.
Nope, not quite. It was very close, though. All right, so we're fishing for Braum Qs. Issa, kind of a bit of a contradictory play, is on the bot side of the map, clearing wave instead of near the top. Definitely not a Baron threat in here. And Solar Flare comes out.
Red is caught out. He doesn't have ult, and he doesn't have the time to flash as he's all stunned up. Eiko's super low as well, and his Picken is getting stunned out by the Braum passive. It's not really going to matter. Nar's going to knock him into the wall. The Nox and Guillotine is going to take out Picken. He's not going to be able to take out anybody else. Issa is now trying to rotate over his team 1v4. There's not really a wave that they can push with, but if they wait for the next one, there's not much that Issa can do to stop them.
Yeah, he might have to concede the inhib here. It looks like he's going to try and hold it. I think it's just time for him to be a Geodude and throw some rocks, though. So they're going to lose their inhib off of this fight, but they're not going to lose their base quite yet. Now, in the event that they did have a smite, this would be a fantastic time to look towards Baron. They might still do it, especially since they have 2 ADCs. It doesn't look like anyone is going to be able to contest Nexusi for now. They got the sweeper coming out, but it looks like they are opting to back instead of try and fight for the Baron. Now, this is a bit of a controversial idea because right on their toes, it looks like Nyangard has retreated, but Nexusi is now moving in. And with them there and a person with Smite on their team, they could take this.
Yeah, Shu is going to shove out this bot side wave, but the moment that they see that Baron has started up, she is going to start booking it. She has Boots of Swiftness. She has the Strut maxed out at this point, so she can move across the map fairly quickly. As yeah, she's already made her way to the mid lane. Good ult snipes out from Prime Eiko once again, as the passive is going to brock up from Braum. Ashe gets a kill as it goes over to Eiko. She gets to get her own gold as Red dashes over, gets the charm off as Mini is trying to run away. They are doing a great job at zoning Nyangard off of this Baron.
Yep, and they've got to keep the Tristana out, though, because if Tristana does find a way into this, it could still potentially prove to be a bit fatal for them. They are looking to catch Red, but the Solar Flare goes wide. And secured.
Yep, and that is the power of the Smite.
Alright, so they got 3 dragons. They've got the Baron buff. But they don't have the kill advantage, and their base is cracked. So this still is anybody's game. However, I do think that when this next dragon comes up in a minute, that could be the game decider. So potentially this could come to an end for one of these teams after this next dragon spawns. So what are you thinking is this game is starting to look like, Zach? It's I'm kind of on the fence about it, on who's going to win this one.
Yeah, it's I think if the game continues on as it is going to be Nexusi's game, simply off the fact that this jungle pressure is just too high. Those jungle objectives really do add up, especially a Dragon Soul plus Baron. One thing that I am looking at is that Lord of Penguins was able to just finish out the IE. That's a pretty big power spike for him, and it looks like we're going to have a little bit of damage coming out. Zhu gets stunned up, stunned out. Cleanse is going to do enough, but it's not going to be all of it. Lord of Penguins in the bot side. He's trying to take down the... Oh, yeah. Trying to take down the Darius. as he's just going to use the Buster Shot to get him out of there. He does not want to take a full-on fight. Dragon's about to spawn, though. And it looks like Nexus, he's trying to set up a death bush. Picken is moving forward a little bit. He's going to spot him out. And they are just going to opt to back up.
Good sweeper from Picken, and he is leading the charge into the bush.
Yeah, they don't even really need to win this fight. They just need to stall it out, as Picken is probably going to fall. Suppress in on... Oh, no! Nate is gunned up. He's got the Zonyas to stall, and he is going to fall. They are going to lose Soul, but in the top side, Mini is taking out another inhib for them. Someone has to match him.
Yep, it looks like he's going to manage to crack the base, and it looks like Lord of Penguins is just here trying to buy time, making sure that his top laner is able to continue pushing. He's now knocking on the base. Not quite something that he's willing to suicide for to continue stalling. He hops over the wall, and...
Mini is taking down Red. Red has ultimate, but he doesn't seem to want to proc it, as this Gnar is actually really, really strong. Deceptively powerful, only being 4-2, but having a ton of consistent DPS. And that is going to be Soul for Nexusi. So trading out the top inhib for the Dragon Soul. We're going to have to hope that this lane pressure amounts to something. I think really the only thing that you're going to get out of this lane pressure is that an ace equals a game.
Yep. And on that note, I think we're at the point where an ace could be the end of the series for either of these teams, because with all of the Kimtech Drake, even a little heal is going to be a ton. We got some more banter in the chat, but on the flip side, if Tristana manages to live through any of these fights with 2 inhibitors cracked, the game is over. So you know, the double ADC is alive and well. On the flip side, we do have a lot of catch from Nexusi versus Nyangard. So it'll be interesting to see if this game is about to come to a close for one of these teams right now in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think one big thing to be looking out for is Eiko's Ashe ultimates. These, oh crud, the Enchanted Arrow is not even going to be relevant. Issa gets the suppress, but it's not going to matter. He is getting gang banged as Nyangard is proving their teamwork is unmatched. They move as a unit, they fight as a squad, and they will match you in any rotation that you have. Death Bush and all. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is available, but I don't think they're going to want this fight anytime soon anymore.
Yeah, and it does look like nobody on the team actually burned any ults taking Issa down there. So we got 4 ults to 5 for the next 20 seconds minimum as Issa's respawning. But it's not really a fight they have to take straight away, since there's no Dragon or Baron on the map to contest.
Yeah, and they have top lane pushing in right now. Somebody's going to have to go match those super minions. So they're doing a great job. They're just taking some vision control. If they got 1 pick, they can probably get a second. And they also have Mini catching the bot wave as well, shoving it up towards that tower. So I think what their goal is right now is simply to just keep pressure up, take jungle camps where you can, keep the vision territory as lit up like a Christmas tree as you can, and hopefully pressure up that bot tower and make somebody have to answer something.
Yeah, so it's looking like, you know, as this game is kind of
Death Push for Death Push. Bullet time comes out. The Braum Shield is going to be really powerful to block out a lot of the damage, though. Stunned up as Picken is trying to stay alive. He does end up getting his ultimate off as well, as Shu is trying to put out some damage on the back line. Super low, everybody, but Ashe is not going to be able to deal enough. That is going to be double kill for Ari. That's going to be a Noxian guillotine for Darius, and Mini and Zhu are running for their lives. They don't want this game to end off of that fight.
Yep, and Issa is on the chase after Zhu right now. It does look like Mini's going to make it out, and it looks like the entirety of Nexusi is currently running down mid, well, with the exception of Eiko, who's currently picking up bot lane. She does have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming up in about 20 seconds, but otherwise, she's not going to be there to join the fight. Kind of a controversial idea, as the ADC could help them pressure this and potentially end the game faster, but she has opted to prevent the backdoor instead.
Yeah, I think that fight was really good for Nyangard for only one other reason, and that's that Asian Bits' shield actually just made that bullet time irrelevant. And I think if that had been played front to back in any other way, it would have been a very clean ace for their team. As Mini TP's into the base, he's trying to run down this tower right now. Prime Eiko is there to defend, and it looks like the TP is also going to be matched by Darius, as Mini is going to have to run for the hills. I don't think he's going to be able to escape this Eiko slow, though. Yep, that is going to be the kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Red is running for his life as Lord of Penguins and Zhu are trying to run him down. Nate is
Aiko
already
does have
here,
the
and Pickett
arrow
is
for the
available.
re-engage.
Red's going to flash forward. He's got the charm as well. Asian Bits is going
Jan
forward, and the bullet
Cressero.
time is being matched by the shield once again. Lord of Penguins is trying to put out some damage on the backline as Nate is stunned up by the passive and hooked in by the Darius. That is going to be a kill going over to Prime Mako as Asian Bits and Issa are running down the Neon Guards. Lord of Penguins is jumping away, but the Prom passive is already on Pickett. He might be giving his life. They're trying to kite it out. Lord of Penguins is doing some damage, but the Sterix shield is going to be too high, and Zhu gets run down by Issa in the backline. Lord of Penguins is the only man left standing for his team, and I fear that this is going to be the end of the road for the Neon Guards. Not how you want to see them go.
Yep, and it looks like with 4 down, he can only watch as the rest of his base is getting crumbled by 4/5 of the enemy team. Red on one side and Lord of Penguins on the other. He goes in, and this is their last fight.
Yeah.
Minnie is here to help, though, too, now.
Taking the 1v1 against Maple, but it's not going to be strong enough. The bomb's not even going to finish it off. And that is going to be the Nexus blowing up. I don't know if a GG is appropriate in this situation, but
Yeah, there's gonna be some salt after that one in the post game chat and in the Discord chat for the tourney. But it was a good performance from both teams. We saw a lot of back and forth, and I think that was a relatively even game for a lot of it.
yeah.
All right, and with that, I believe that our Twitch chat would be picking who we're going to be talking to for coming up. Since this is the end of the road for Nyangard, we could pick somebody from Nyangard as opposed to someone from the currently continuing Nexusy team. But I will leave that up to Twitch and our main caster here.
Yeah, normally my goal is to interview the losing teams because it is their last chance to really say anything and speak their mind for the tournament, kind of their final thoughts as they depart. But I imagine there's not going to be some TOS friendly things to say if we interview. So perhaps it's best to just call it a night for this one specifically. I'll message the team captain from Neon Guard. Maybe they do want to, keep things calm, but I totally understand. If I were in their position and that's how we ended up losing out the match, I wouldn't want to do an interview afterwards.
Right on. So while you're kind of messaging and getting some info there as to who we're going to interview for the post game, going into next week, we do have the Alpha to G-Town is going to be playing against one of our top bracket teams that lost out, as well as the winners final. So that would be between Ganksbank and Camp Autumn, as well as another game that we have as well. So there's going to be multiple games going next weekend, and then obviously after that we'll be finishing up and then going into the grand finals for this event. So for team captains, make sure you get your game scheduled. For viewers, make sure that you tune in for those, because I feel like those last couple games will be very spicy.
Yeah. So as I kind of expected, our team captain from the Neon Guards is a little heated. So I think it's going to be best to avoid an interview for today from either team. But I will let you guys in the Twitch chat use your imaginations for what might be said. We've seen how they reacted at the beginning of the game. We saw how they were reacting in all chat. And, we're all adults here. So I'll let you guys pick your own opinion. If I was going to speak on behalf of the Neon Guards, I've spoken to a lot of them in private, from a lot of just personal games and scrims and things like that. I know they had a lot of fun in the tournament. I'm sure that this match specifically was not the highlight of their run, but at the end of the day, I know they all enjoyed playing with each other. They played well as a team, and they were looking forward to moving through the entirety of the gauntlet. So definitely a team that I think if they came back in the next tournament, they could be placing and seeding very, very high compared to where they placed this time around. Lots of their players not just played well, but actually genuinely improved throughout the tournament. Zhu being one of the prime examples. We saw her improve in the last tournament as well, starting off as kind of this like silver-esque pick and kind of moving her way up to gold. And now she's already back up into platinum, and I believe, if we're all in agreement, knocking on Emerald's doors as the next few months start to come along. So definitely the player to be looking out for as this tournament wraps up, but also as the future tournaments start to pick up. If you're looking to scout a player and Neon Guards don't snipe her again, maybe go check out her. But all these players from the Neon Guard played very, very well. They did their roles extremely proficiently. Lord of Penguins showcasing he has a very wide champion pool for the mid lane. Nate showing his flexibility not just in support, but in jungle, and in this case, actually being able to utilize those support skills as a kind of roaming Zyra. And Minnie being a very secured top laner, but also being a strong flex picker for the team. A lot of times in Swiss, in the round robin stages, they used Minnie and his ability to play very many roles and literally flexed him around the map to try to break ankles in champ select and to really throw their opponents off. So good teamwork from this team overall. And hopefully we'll get to see more from them in future events as we move forward. But next, ToC is going to be fighting off in the next week's match. The playoffs are going to continue. So if you guys haven't already hit that follow button and you're not already in the Discord, drop that invite link in the Discord or in the Twitch channel, and we will make sure to get it to you. So that way you guys can participate in everything we've advertised here thus far. It is really going to be a fun event as we continue on from the rest of the lower bracket and into the upper bracket as well. Ren, did you want to say anything to the fans or the folks listening before we sign off here today?
Yeah, again, we are going to have kind of like a dark horse pick going into one of the awards for the whole tournament overall. So Shu being one of the people who's been mentioned for that multiple times. So again, keep that player's performance in mind, as that particular award is going to be a huge jump from a player kind of being a non-expectation to really performing well and actually doing a ton of stuff. So kind of keep your eyes out for all of the Sword players. Again, thank you for everybody who's participated in the tournament. We're looking forward to even more matches and even more awesome stuff happening. Keep being awesome, everyone. In spite of sometimes disagreements or games not quite going so well, just try not to get too BM to each other. And again, thanks again to everybody who's tuned in on Twitch. I hope y'all continue watching, and see y'all next time.
Yep. Until then, guys, we will see you following the Loafland Tournament of Champions Season 2 playoffs next weekend. Bye, guys.